Looks like I'm live, I think. Yeah, it's live. Cool. Hey guys, I've started my usual tiny bit early, just to kind of say hi and get everybody introduced here. This is going to be a more informal episode. I've kind of just thrown it together at the last hour. I did do a bunch of changes throughout the week of the code, so I do have these changes, but we'll see. I mean, just until the last second here, I was just reading my daughter a story, so it was really last minute, this whole stream, but I'm still excited about it nonetheless. I made some cool changes, discovered some things I didn't know, the usual way by making mistakes, which is always good. But yeah, I just want to wait in another 10 seconds until 9 o'clock because I don't even know if it matters, to be honest, because there's always so few people that are watching it live. So I'm always worried to be like, right at 9 o'clock, I have to say hello, which is in 2, 1, 9 o'clock. Hello for anybody that just tuned in right on the dot. But seeing as it says concurrent viewers 0 right now, I don't think that's the case. So hopefully you guys will see it after the fact and won't care that it was 9 o'clock. I might not do it next time, to be honest. I'm always trying to think how to change up the format and stuff and maybe make things a bit more relaxed and everything. I don't know if at some point more people will watch these videos or they'll get popular 10 years from now if somebody wants to check this out, after I'm super famous or something. But who's to say, So just as a quick introduction, I guess. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in again. My name is Dustin, Dustin Brett. If this is the first time you've seen this, I've got some other videos, some streams. This is the 7th episode in my streams where I'm kind of building my desktop environment, OS, Windows clone, shell, whatever you want to call it. I've done one before. I've done this before, and this is a redo project because I wanted to do it in these videos and have like essentially a documentation of the entire process. But I'd like to just kick it right off here. Oh, also just by the way, Dustin Brett, I'm a software developer in Vancouver, Canada. Like I said, nothing's organized today, so I'm going to say everything out of order, but you're getting the information, so just be happy about that. But yeah, I want to just show you guys the project here, just in case any newcomers are interested. This is what I got right now. This is the original, but I'm going to be remaking it. Essentially, that's what I'm working on right now. That's what this is. But it's basically like a Windows clone with some different things. Actually, it's not just a Windows clone. I actually had a Mac at the time that I did this. So this part with the folder structure here, the folders and everything, I decided to go Mac on. But this time in the redo, I'm going to stick to Windows all the way, I think, because I'm going to have a better theming system. I hope. That's the plan. That's what I've been doing with these styled components. So with that in mind, I'll be able to mix and match, and I'll be able to get a similar effect to this with the Windows 10 taskbar and the Mac folder thing here, but it's going to take some time. And I've been thinking about that lately, actually, for these streams. And let me just switch back to myself here. And yeah, we'll see how these streams go. But I'm not going to stop them. But I'm thinking at some point I might start looking at what I did before and just like taking big chunks in, and then spend a few episodes refactoring it, because we'll see how it goes, but I just don't want everyone to feel like we're making no progress, sorry, because I still have Hello World on the app. My first app is like the Hello World app, so it still kind of says Hello World even, so it's very early days in the app, but like I said, and like I showed you guys, I do have my original, and I'm thinking about not jumping ahead, but just kind of pulling some stuff in so we can be like, let's massage it, let's refactor it. But I don't want to do that yet because I like going through every piece and being like, here's what I wanted to refactor today. Here's what I learned. Here's my ideas for this. And essentially we are doing it completely fresh. Like I do have that original, but I'm not copying, pasting stuff. I've used some of the same basic structure that I like Next.js and stuff. And if you want to go back to the first episode, you can see a lot about my explanation for that. And just all these episodes up to where I am now. I really kind of detailed the whole thing because I only do the commits for this branch on these videos. So I do make other branches in between videos just to kind of experiment and figure out what I'm going to add. But all the main stuff that you guys that are on these streams is the code. I don't sneak anything in except for the stream notes at the end. I slip those in after. So yeah, where does that get us? I've done the introduction, and I'd like to now go into what I did last episode, just for anybody that didn't see that one, which is very likely to believe because I get new people coming every day to this, or every week. Also on the weekly thing too, I've kind of missed the last couple as far as posting a video that's not about this stream, because I have so many planned. Like I want to do the build my PC, because I got a new PC that's running all this stream right now that's really awesome, 3900X Ryzen 9 processor, so it's a beast. It's been very nice to me. And what other things did I want to do? Yeah, there were so many things I wanted to do with that. But the travel video, that was the other one. Sorry, guys. I've got a list of like 100 video ideas, I think. And it's just been, I don't know, the last few weeks I've been a little drained, a little foggy. I've just been feeling sick lately too. So I don't know, I just haven't had time to do the videos as much, but I'm still feeling pretty good. I like doing these streams. I don't have COVID. I actually tested myself and it was negative. So just got paranoid, you know, and it's actually pretty simple to do the test. So if anybody's ever thinking about doing it, they have like this gargle one now that's like not like that thing up your nose. So not that I ever even did that one. It looks uncomfortable though, but the gargle one is just like doing mouthwash basically, and get the result the next day. So it can be helpful. But yeah, it wasn't that. So I guess I'm just kind of got the flu, just a little slow today, hopefully. And just as a note too, you guys can message me on the chat. I'm just going to open up the pop-out chat here so I can see it in front of me. This is absolutely an interactive stream. Anyone wants to throw a message in, I'll mention it. I don't have so many viewers that it's going to get out of hand, I think. So any comments, questions, concerns, any of that stuff, feel free to throw it at me. If you notice any issues with the stream, I don't know if the frames are a little wonky. The CPU, everything seems okay. My GPU is at about 90% when it's doing this, though. I definitely need a GPU upgrade, but anybody doing PC building right now knows GPUs are kind of tough. They're kind of pricey. They're hard to get. So yeah, that was, oh man, I wanted to talk to you guys about the redo now. See, I'm all over the place here. So yeah, let's get into the episode 6 recap without further interruptions by my just random talkings. What did we end up doing last episode? So what does it say here? Enabled embedded default props. Yeah, the episode prior to that, I'd kind of moved up a lot of properties to have like default props that could be passed in an attempt to make the components more generic. And I kind of regretted that right away, and it just was silly. It was like adding prop drilling for no reason, essentially, and it just didn't make sense. So I've stopped doing that, and I kind of put the defaults back to where I preferred them, and I'm happier with that way. It made the code a lot simpler. That's like the main thing right now that I care about, is just having the least amount of lines possible. And if down the road, once things are a little more structured and set up, if we just go, oh, you know, I want to make this more generic, or if the taskbar, if I can get the taskbar really cool, maybe someone would want to use the taskbar as a component, you know, and I could even start splitting out packages. We could do like module federation or something like that. Who knows how we'll end up doing it, but there is that opportunity. But right now I just want to have as little lines of code as possible. That's my goal. So making things more generic doesn't necessarily do that unless you're using things a bunch, I guess. And we're only using the taskbar once. So what else did I do? I moved the global style into the theme. Yeah, we're going to see a bit more of that today, about moving things lower into context, because I realized like maybe the global style would want to use the theme, you know? It's the same with, I think, what is the one? Well, we'll get into it. I got a huge list of things, but there's another refactor similar to that where I just haven't given access to something, and that's where you get into React context and how you should kind of nest your items to make sure that they all have access to the right contexts. We're going to do a bit of that. What else? I did a bunch of refactors here, just cleaned various things up. Better variable naming, added the pseudo selectors to global style. These are all pretty refactory. Use new theme color, yeah, whatever. No more React type imports. Okay. We're going to talk more about some React stuff from some learnings I've had recently about TypeScript and React. One thing I was proud about was this context factory that I made. We're probably going to redo the folder structure slightly and move that, I think, and move a couple other things today. But yeah, in general, the context factory I still think is pretty cool. And when we get into the file system, we're going to use it again. So that means, like, it could seem a bit excessive. I only have 2 contexts and I made like this factory function thing, but I feel at the moment, at least, like that's a nice separation, and that this I'll jump into the code really quick just to show you what I'm talking about with this context factory. That's it right there. It's basically like a very simple context, React context, where you got the provider. I'm just directly passing the consumer right in. So I basically just modify the provider a bit with this little hook that'll become the value and an initial context state. And then it allows me to make the process and the session context. You see they're basically just copies of each other. And they're very simple in that they just use the context factory. They pass in their generic type, and they have an initial context and the hook. And then that's kind of where the meat of it happens. So let's say within the session here, the initial is right now it's theme and set theme name. And then if you look at its hook, it's the same thing, theme and set theme name. And here's the kind of the React logic for it. So I kind of split it out into several parts, but I think it makes it more digestible from a thinking point of view. Could be wrong though. Who knows? I end up refactoring everything every couple episodes. So let's get back into the list here. What else did we do? Yeah, the only other thing that's also kind of cool is the animated wallpaper. I fixed it. The episode previous, it was broken, and it was because of something with VantaJS. Oh, actually, that's a good point. I think I showed you guys last episode that I had commented on that, and I think did he like called it out as like, oh, good call. Yeah, here we go. This guy Tang. I think this is like one of the main guys that makes it. And oh man, this let me just increase the text here. Actually, let me just set the default as bigger, because that's the one thing I forgot to do. And that it bothers me with some streamers is that you can't read the text on the things they're showing you. So I try to zoom in just so that everybody can see things clearly. So yeah, this is something I think I showed last episode where I kind of just posted a nice helpful GitHub thing. I wasn't able to fix the code myself, so I just posted to the guy, hey, here's the problem. Here's why it's the problem, because the 3JS new version has gotten rid of the geometry constructor. And yeah, the creator's like, thanks for catching this. Yeah, simple solution is just to roll back to an older version of 3JS. I'll update the code later. Nice. So he'll figure out all that vertices and faces and stuff, and that's not really my forte. So, but yeah, that's a nice little GitHub thing where you can kind of give somebody a heads up on some problems that you found. And I don't know if that's worth anything, but it helped that guy. Hopefully he fixes it, and then I can update my 3JS, because right now I'm locked at version 1.124, I think. R124 they call it. But that's all we did. So that's the episode recap. And I'm happy to get into the code here. Also, back to when I was saying I was sick, by the way, guys. This probably won't be a 3-hour one. That's very doubtful. 2 hours, 2.5 hours, hour and a half, who knows? I got a list of stuff here. Here's the list. I just made this like an hour ago, but it's from the changes I've done recently. So we're gonna get through this part of the list, and if we get here and I'm not feeling it, then this stuff is going in here to the next stream. So we'll see. These are kind of nice to have. This might go above that one because colors are kind of easier. So we'll see. Actually, they're not. I don't know what's colors is easier than doing a process loop. what's the ratio on that? I don't know. So yeah, let's get into it. NPM updates. That's the first one I do. And also I've got this maintenance and housekeeping and refactoring. I'm not sure if I've got those in the right order necessarily. There might be some things that are like, this is more like a refactor and this is more like maintenance and housekeeping, but I don't know. I would say it's not even my opinion, because I sometimes didn't remember where I was putting things. So it's in a random order. I might just, in fact, let's just do this. Maintenance. Let's do maintenance, housekeeping, and refactoring. And let's just dump it all in here. But it's in some sensible order where maybe this will feel more like I'm cleaning stuff up, and then I'll get more into moving stuff. But I'm not really reinventing any wheels here. This piece is important enough to be at the bottom here. This is actually the additional task. That's a big thing. That's when we're going to get into, oh, what did I miss cutting a piece out there? There's a little, the what, Dustin? I didn't even put in my notes here. But the spoiler alert here that I'll just show you guys in the notes, and the reason that I consider this an additional task, and one that we will get to, is VM. So I've got a virtual machine set up for Windows 10 now, and it's one of my stream settings that we'll flip to, and you guys can see me and see the Windows 10 at the same time. And we'll kind of get into some of the ways that I've done some of the like measurements and reverse engineering, let's say, of the OS the way it looks now. So be like how to measure the heights of everything and get it all right. I mean, it's not rocket science. You can do it with MS Paint or whatever, copy paste type stuff. But I'll just show you guys how I do it and some of the advanced techniques that I've tried to use. But I don't know how it's going to go, because it took me forever to perfect all that stuff, and I don't know how to go in the stream to be able to show you guys in a reasonable speed. But without too much further ado, let's get into maintenance, housekeeping, and refactoring. First thing that I always do, NPM updates. You guys know me, or you don't, but I do it. Now you know me. So there's several things here, I think more than I had last time. So you see these yellow ones here. These are essentially where it's not going to do, if I do NPM update, it's not going to update those things, because those are major version changes. So you see here going from 4.38 to 5.09. That's from 4. The major part, this is called semver. I've discussed this in a few other episodes, but like these little points are the major, the minor version, and the patch version. And I think in package.js, when you have like the little upper thing, I think that allows the update command to work on minor as well. And we can kind of double check if it's hard to prove that. Wanted latest. Why does it? Oh, okay, current. So in this case, it's patch going from 1 to 2. Here we go. Yeah. So in this case, we're going from 14 minor to 15 minor. So that does. So yeah. So if you look at what was that one? That's for the TypeScript ESLint plugin. So if you go to package.json and you look at the TypeScript ESLint plugin, wherever the heck that is. Here it is, ESLint plugin. Yeah, so you see it's got this little upper thing here. So that's kind of saying to package.json, allow me to update all the way to the minor version and then patch when you run the update command, but not a major version. So let's just run update here and I'll show you. And the reason I mentioned this, I think I mentioned this before, but it's just good to know, because if you hadn't ran outdated and you just ran update and we see the results here, I'm pretty sure it's not even going to tell you that 3 things did not get updated, even though there are 3 updates, because of the way that you have the versioning set up. So that's a little aha, where if someone's just like, oh yeah, run npm update and then it's updated. Not necessarily. Are there any major updates, you know? Yeah, see, did it say anything here? Yeah, I don't see anything obvious. I probably wouldn't even read this most of the time, so you don't know. And now if we look at outdated, we're going to see those 3 yellow ones, yeah. So that's something tricky. Now, I think you can change that upper arrow to something else where it'll even do major versions. I don't know, but that's not how I do it anyways. I do npm I is short for install, and then I just specify these. I'll usually double check them. Like Husky, I think was a big jump. I think they changed their licensing even too. For now, I'm just going to do the update because I think it works. In my tests it worked, but if it doesn't work, then we'll just revert, right? So let's just do that. So we got that one updated, and now if you look at outdated, that one will be not on the list. Yeah, see? And we'll do the same for the other 2. And you can actually do them multiple here. So I do that @ symbol, and then I specify the version here. And I'm going to do another one. Oh, no. That's the 3JS one. Oh, I almost messed up there. So the 3JS I have locked at 124 on purpose. And it even says that wanted this. So it knows I want that. Although it's incorrect in this case. So it's just in regards to the no major updates. But in this case, I absolutely do want that. And actually, it's what you think wanted. Well, I guess it's just the major and the up thing. I would have expected this to maybe say I want 8.0, but not give it to me because it's yellow, but whatever. So I could have done 2 there in the list. I could have done the Husky one at the same time, but I didn't. So we're not going to update 3JS, as I said, because that will break the wallpaper until that dude fixes it. So until he does that, we ain't doing that. So there we go. We got our npm updates, and we do our commit. npm updates. And I hopefully now remember to do the commit of the updates and not add other crap to it. So as is tradition, I've created a build error on my last stream. It seems like the last one before I also broke the build. So what did I do? I think it involves the test. So let's do npm t and see here. The test fail. And it did. And if we scroll up to about the start of the point here, you see here, so error creating WebGL context. That's because it's running in like this fake jest environment to do the testing, and it doesn't have WebGL support. So if we look at this WebGL thing, there's actually, I'm trying to remember how I found this out before. I think I dived into 3JS and found like a checker function for if WebGL exists. But rather than, I'm going to spare you guys all that. I'm just going to jump to the conclusion here of what I did or what I found. And you see here this WebGL rendering context. This essentially is always in the browser, assuming the browser supports it. And if you've got this, essentially you probably got enough to make WebGL work. Maybe not, but this is the only indicator I'm going to care about, honestly, for now. And if we scroll down to the bottom, as is typical with these MDN pages, there's a browser compatibility, and you can see at least this aspect is available on pretty much all the browsers I care about. If you get into the more complicated parts, it looks like some of that stuff's not supported, but like I said, I'm going to just treat this as all I care about. And as far as checking for it, if we go here and I open up DevTools and I go into the console and I just type that in, you can see it's there. It's a function. And I could probably run it. I don't know what it's going to do. Yeah, I didn't put any, I did everything wrong there, but it didn't say not found. You know, if I do web contexts, see, it doesn't know what that is. So we know it's there. So that's what I'm going to check for. So that's going to be the first little cleanup I do, is fixing my build. And where am I going to do that? I'm going to do that where the test is failing, which is in 3JS when it calls waves, which is to make the Vanta effect. That's where 3JS gets triggered. So we're going to look for that, which we got to find where it is. I think it's utils Vanta waves. This is Vanta waves. This is the wallpaper, basically. And where's the problem? Right here, right? This is where it fails. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to create another constant called something. Let's see here. First off, I'm going to just do this. I'm going to just call it whatever. There we go. And I'm going to check for this. So a good way to check for this is to do type of. That's something I do for a lot of checking. Type of. And I can just show you what that does if you guys aren't familiar with it. Oh, by clicking random stuff. If we open it up here and we go type of that, we get, oh, undefined, which is useful. That was because I added that S. If I remove it, see, there we go. So now we know it's a function, right? So we do not want it to say undefined, essentially. And the reason I use type of is if you just say, like, does this exist? That's okay, that worked because it existed. But if it's something that doesn't exist, you're gonna get an error in your code, essentially. So you're better to do a type of, because that's essentially a safe check for something that is not defined, is my thinking on it. I could be dead wrong, who knows? So we're going to do type of equals, and we're going to use the triple equals as always. That's part of our ESLint rules. That's more specific. And okay, so what do we want to name this? Let's just, yeah, think of a name for this. Let's say has WebGL context. Is that a nice name for it? I'm not a huge fan of that name. What did I name it before? This is where we get to see my my show notes of the code, the changes I did for this episode. And I just want to see what I called it. Oh, let me switch to the changes tab here so I can see files changed. Is WebGL available? I like that actually. It's probably because I made it, you know. Let's just put that there and see what that looks like. So we're looking for the WebGL rendering context, but we don't need the variable to know that we're looking for context. We just need to know what's the purpose of us doing this. And it's to know if WebGL is available. So that's cool. I think the error said something similar to that, like WebGL is not available. I don't know, maybe it did. So we're gonna make a little ternary condition here where we're gonna say, if the WebGL is available, then we do that. Otherwise, it's going to be undefined. So this will still work fine because if this is doing a little check here, 2 checks in fact. So it's not gonna, if this is undefined, it's not gonna try to run the destroy function essentially. And we're gonna run Prettier on that because that doesn't look pretty. I'm still pondering having Prettier run on save. I think I probably will at some point. I just haven't yet. So you see there, that looks a little nicer. So is WebGL available? If it is, do this. If it's not, do that. I like that. I think that works. Let's see if that fixes our test. npm run t. Oops. It's npm t. I could do npm run test, or I could do npm t, which is like a shortcut. Okay, so it still doesn't work. What was my problem here? Error creating WebGL context. Wait a minute. This doesn't make sense what I did. Oh, because I did such a stupid condition. I'm just throwing code around. So this has to be not undefined. Now I could do function, I guess, because I mean, I don't know for sure if in Safari it's a function or it's called, I mean, it must be a function in every way. Maybe that is more explicit. I guess, yeah, let's be, well, I mean, all that I care about is that it exists. Presumably it's going to be a function, but should I check if it's a function or should I just be sure it's not undefined? I think I'm just going to do not undefined because that works, you know. There we go. I just fixed the wallpaper. So, oh, so I broke it, right? Yeah, duh, I broke it. The wallpaper wasn't broken, the test was broken. Let's check that. I think it's fixed. I think it's fixed. There we go, it's fixed. So I fixed the build. So I want to do some more refactoring here in a bit, but that's good enough for now to make our little commit. And, oh, this is a little wonkiness that happens with Prettier right now. I haven't figured out why. None of these files changed if you click them. They did not change. There's some kind of, like, the files changed, but they didn't change. This happens the first time I run Prettier, but it shouldn't happen for the rest of the show. And I'm going to figure out what this is at some point and fix it, but I just don't care right now. So added WebGL check to Vanta waves. Yeah, that looks good. And somewhere in here is the actual change. Where is Vanta waves? There we go. So you see I've just, move this for a second here. I've just added the WebGL check and undefined if it's not. And I think at one point I had written null here, and then I've been running my code through some like code suggestions to be like, just to try to find any ways where they're like, you shouldn't do these things. And they've kind of discouraged null and pointed better towards undefined. And I prefer that too, I think. I can't remember their logic behind it, but I think if you don't want to set it, then it is undefined. So to say null is like to say there was some kind of failed result or a void result, but a result nonetheless. But in this case, it's just, it never got defined because WebGL did not exist, in my opinion. So I think it's a nice use for undefined, and I think in general that makes more sense than returning null. So I don't know why I thought returning null at one point was a good idea, but I'm not going to do it here in my notes in my stream. So let's commit this, added WebGL. And when I commit this, only one file is going to change, even though it's saying all these are modified. That's just Prettier being silly or something being silly. I'll figure it out. Anyways, committed. And now if I run Prettier again, I don't think it'll be so stubborn. It'd be silly if it did. Yeah, see, now nothing changed. That's the correct thing to happen. So now it should just be files that we actually change, ideally. So we got these two out of the way. What's next? Remove unneeded Vanta waves desktop ref. Yeah, this gets into a couple things actually. Let's move these up together and just do a bunch of desktop ref stuff, because I wanted to change the way that works. I'm not happy with that. I feel like Vanta waves here, by having a react.ref object, I'm making it unnecessarily reacty, because all this cares about is the HTML element. Like, why does it need to know .current and stuff? That's what I should be passing is the current one, in my opinion. So we're going to change this to be like that for now. And actually going one step further, I'm not even going to define the type here, because I already say wallpaper effect here. So if I just go to that definition, I just got to fix it here. And I shouldn't even be wasting my time defining a type over here. There we go. And now we don't want current. That's correct. We want this to be like that. And also it's no longer really a ref. So let's just call it should we call it the desktop element, or should we just use the EL reference? I mean, why not? Maybe I can fit it all in one line even. That'd be cool. Is this 80? 80 characters exactly. Nice. So let's just use EL, because that's what Waves expects. And then we can just get rid of this entire part and just say EL, EL. You know? I think I like that. In some ways I don't though. I'd like it if it was the word element, but they've decided to use EL. So, and if you hover over it, it does say HTML element. So the type itself is helpful. I'm going to leave it as L because this is a little cleaner and it's less code like I like to do. So let's just do that for now. And we have to change it in wallpaper effect to also be called EL. Although I guess we could call it element in the type and just call it EL in the implementation. Let's go with that logic. Does that make sense? And then when you look at wallpaper, it's like it takes something that you could call element and it's an HTML element, but here I can call it EL because it's just whatever the first argument is. Yeah. Well, no, I just don't like the inconsistency of that. So let's just leave this as EL for now until I decide to change my mind. So that's a little cleaner, right? Wasn't that just all I had to do there? Yeah. Well, that's part of a further thing. I need to now fix where I'm passing it, which is in when I call the wallpaper, which is in the desktop. So yeah, here we are here. No, it's in use wallpaper, right? It's in the wallpaper hook. Here we go. Wallpaper desktop ref will now be desktop ref.current. There we go. That's cleaner. So that's all fixed now. You see the wallpaper's back. And was there any other thing I needed to do for that? Here it's nice. Here, use wallpaper and just passing the ref. I like that here in the desktop. It's okay for the hook to expect a ref object because that's a React thing and the hook is a React thing. So, but the wallpaper function can just be all about elements. Do I want to fix this right now? Yeah, let's fix this right now and just call it wallpaper refactoring. You see here how it says any? Why does it say that? I ask you. No, I'll explain why it says it. Let's commit what I have and then let's get right into that. I think I might have mentioned it as the next thing. No, I didn't. I want to check that it's not null. That was another piece to this little puzzle. If we go to the type itself, it can actually be null because it's the ref object is sometimes null. If we go, where is it here? Within use wallpaper. Yeah, look, we hover over here. Well, again, the any type's broken, so that's a bad example. Oh yeah, the ref object. So we got to go one step back. Here we go. Use ref. So right, when use ref, you see I'm passing null initially. So I think null. It probably is null initially, and I think that's why I'd like to make this more clear here. Yeah, you see, if you hover over use ref, you see that it says or null, and I don't know if that's because I put null in here. Let's put a 1 and see if. Yeah, it has no idea how to do that. So I'm gonna be explicit here too and say or null. I don't think you need to be, but I like to be. We've looked this up before. This null is just the way to use ref in this way. Oops. So that's correct. So now that we're passing this logic that this can be null, we need to keep passing that down. So let's go into these wallpaper. It's the same story here. It can also be null. Yeah, and it would still be a ref object. And then to pass that one level more down into the wallpaper, we need to go to the Vanta wallpaper here. And I'd also like to check for it. So let's go to the wallpaper effect and say that the wallpaper effect can also be null. And now if we go back to Vanta, the other piece that I wanted to change is now that EL can be null, we should also check for that too. And if it's null, then we're not even going to run waves. So that's just something I'm going to add here at the WebGL check. So I'm going to say, is the element even defined? And also, is WebGL available? And if both of those two conditions are true, then we're going to do this. Otherwise, it's not defined. So now we're doing a little null check there, which is a little cleaner. And let's just save these 40 changes I did to each file. And there we go. I think we fixed the null piece too. Now I'll get to this wallpaper thing in a second, but let's just commit what we have. Yeah, assuming that this makes sense here. Let's double check. Remove unneeded Vanta waves dest ref. Yep, I did that. Check if desktop ref isn't null. Yep, we got that. And we renamed it. Okay, cool. So the next thing I wanted to get to actually was this little piece here, but I'll do that after I commit. I'm just reorganizing things for everybody's sake and mental health. So let's just see what we changed here. So we added the or null to the desktop ref here because use ref can be or null, but you don't have to specify that. I would think you would have had to, but it was okay. TypeScript was okay with me not doing it, but I'm going to be real explicit here. I'm going to be real explicit. And what did I do here? In the use wallpaper hook, I've also specified it could be null. And now to the wallpaper function, I always just pass the element because the wallpaper needs the element. That's all it needs. It doesn't need no ref object. But in the wallpaper effect, I've said it can be null so that when we are in the wallpaper effect, we do check for if it is null, right? And I've renamed this a lot so that it all fits in one line now. We're going to do our usual npm run Prettier. Also as an interesting test to see if it tries to change a bunch more files for some reason. Nope. It looks like it changed a few things formatting wise. I don't even care about them. It's whatever. It's opinionated. Oh, okay, this is Prettier actually. I like that on a new line at this point. So I think that's probably cleaner if we look at Vanta here. Yeah, that looks pretty clean to me as far as what it's doing, other than EL being a little short named. I'm still not totally happy with that, but maybe I should just change it if I'm complaining so much, right? It's like, just fix it. So I don't like that. Let's call it element. That's my style. I don't know why waves people have decided to just go EL. That's lazy, dude. So this is an element. We're going to call it by what it is. I prefer that, even though now I have to do this. It's like, it's worth it. Now let's go into the wallpaper effect and fix it here. Cool that it fit on one line. Oh, it actually still will fit on one line. It's 75 characters that we see here from our code telling us our line information. So cool, that actually still fine. I prefer that now because now it says element very nicely. That would have been over the line. Okay, cool. So let's just close all these things to get this out of our way and let's figure out a name for this. Refactored wallpaper element, let's say. Refactored wallpaper element / type. Yeah, it's a simpler type now. It doesn't need to know about being a ref object. Let's commit that. And we got 3 commits. Let's do a push too, just because one of those was fixing the build. So at some point we'll look at our commits probably, and now we'll see a check mark instead of an X, which is nice. So this gets into, remember what I was saying here. I wanted to talk about why was the wallpaper an any, because that's wrong. So if we go to look at desktop here, no, not here, in the use wallpaper function, yeah, if you hover over this, it says any, and if you hover over the context, it says any. But if we go to theme context, oh, not theme context, sorry guys. This is coming from the theme, so we need to go to the default theme, which is in styles, style D. Right, so we're overriding style D right now, and we see, okay, wallpaper effects defined. Why isn't it doing it? And you see, if I hover, it's any. Why is it any? Because I never even imported it. You see, it's not imported. But where's the error, right? This gets to my issue. And if we check here, this is actually a TypeScript thingy within my default configuration. If you look in the ts config, skip libcheck is true in my config. And what skip libcheck does is essentially it skips checking these d.ts files. Now you could say, just put that to false then. But then it starts checking all my libs for my node modules. And some of those node modules fail, actually, to pass the test. And then I get an error. So I'm going to keep, and it also is slower, by the way, when it's checking all that node module stuff. So I'm not going to check that, but I do need to fix this problem. And my solution that I've decided on is to just not use the .d. And I looked in the styled components configuration, and they suggest this .d, but I'm not sure it's necessary. And in my testing, it did not seem necessary for it to be a .d. I think it's just like, oh, we're going to call it .d because then it's like a definition update or a declaration maybe. I don't know what the thinking is behind it, and I'm not 100% sure when to use .d, when not to, but we're not going to use it right now, and we're just going to roll with that until someone tells me that that's stupid. So if I rename that, boom, look at that. Now we got an error. That's what I wanted to see before, and now I can just do a very simple import and do the other fixes like adding type, do another fix like adding the space. And now I've done all that auto fixing, and now this works correctly. So now if we go and use wallpaper and we look at this, there we go. Now we know what that was supposed to be. And now this is properly checked, you know? It might not have been properly checked before. I mean, it wasn't for sure because it was an any. So it's like, pass whatever you want. I don't know what this is. And that's not what we want with TypeScript. So what did we just do there? We fixed stuff. Stop using .d for styled as it isn't checking types. Good point. And then I added the wallpaper effect as well because I got the error right away once I knew it was there, right? So cool. So let's update that. No more .d.ts for styled and added missing type. Cool. That's a short enough amount. So let's commit that. And let's move on to the next thing, guys. And girls, perhaps. Whoever happens to want to check things out. Guys, girls, whatever. Add wallpaper effect. Yeah, so we did it. And now let's move on to the next little aha thing that I hadn't thought about before. If you guys remember, for those of my consistent viewers, the ESLint config, in one episode, or several episodes, I was like, I wish Prettier and ESLint worked better together because I'm having to add rules like the semi rule and the comma dangle rule, even though those are the defaults for Prettier, because I have overridden a few things with Prettier. I want to use single quotes instead of double, and I don't want a trailing comma. But the comma dangle and the semi rules are just Prettier rules anyways. And I put these in here manually just so that I could get that proper like squiggly lines when I made mistakes. But I've now since found out that, and if we look at my package.json file, ESLint Prettier, you see, where the heck is that? Prettier. So I had the ESLint config Prettier, but I didn't have the ESLint plugin Prettier. And those two can work in conjunction. So I am going to have them both. And I'll just show you guys. I have a link here. Whenever I have a link, I try to visit it. So yeah, basically this just talks about basically everything I just said. The config one is kind of like, it just disables the rules that are conflicting, whereas this plugin is more harmonious with it. So it's more ideal. And at the same time, if we set up the recommended config here, it's telling us a recommended config. So we're going to use that when we install it. So let's go, this is the install command right here. Let's go into our code and run that with the old terminal. There we go, that'll install that. And I'm just going to copy that recommended piece from the browser. And we're going to go to our ESLint config now, and we're going to add the stuff that we need to add. So yeah, I'm going to take away the semi rule, and I'm going to take away the comma dangle rule, because those are part of Prettier that we're going to add here with that plugin. And I'm going to pass in the recommended configuration file, because that's just going to give us all the rules automatically that we want. And it's going to be alphabetical, so elemental PQRS, this is the right spot for that. There we go, we got that. And also if we go back to this here, so that's the part it's suggested here, but as far as the installation, we also need to have the plugin here. So if we go into our plugins part of the list, same thing, I'm gonna PR, there we go. So now we have Prettier as well. So now if we do a save, and what were the two rules I erased here? So let's just test. So I erased the comma dangle and semi rule. So let's just test those by breaking those rules. Let's find, here's a list here. So let me add comma dangle and save that. And I would have expected an error there, but I'm not getting one, unfortunately. Did I save everything? Yeah, Nice, nice. So what happened there? Let me do npm run ESLint and see what it's thinking. Because I should get a failure. There we go. And what is it? Oh, I didn't even install this, or didn't I? I did, but did the command not work and I just wasn't looking? Let's go to my package.json. Oh, did I not install that? Sorry guys, I thought I ran that command. Let's just double check, because maybe I did. And maybe, who knows what happened. Let's run it again and actually read what the result is this time. I feel like that happened last time, but maybe not. I guess we'll go back to the video and be like, dude, you didn't run that. Who knows what I ran? It didn't seem to affect anything, so I ran it in my head. So now we actually have it. So now when I broke the file, I would hope to actually get the error this time. Let's see. Similar. Let's run ESLint now and see what happens. npm run ESLint. Does it complain about comma dangle? Okay, cool. Yeah, so there it is. So it's saying delete A2, and it even says it's a Prettier rule. I'm not sure why it's not showing it here. Let's, as always, just close the file and open it, and that'll fix it. Let's try. Nope. Well, this worked in my tests. I bet if I closed VS Code and reopened it, it would work, but I'm not going to mess with that right now. So just, you guys will just trust me on that. And let's do the semi-test rule as well and see if that one actually fails. Move this out of the way. So the semi rule is not failing either. Oh, that's frustrating. There's some way to reload ESLint. Let's try that. If we click ESLint here, how do we reload it? Yeah, I think the easiest way would just be to close the browser, but or to close VS Code, but I'm not really wanting to do that right now because that just messes with the stream. So let's not worry about it right now. And when we do commits, ESLint runs, so we'll get an error if we make the mistake because we have it in our pre-commit hooks, right? And we've updated Husky, so everything should work fine. So let's look at our changes quick. What did we end up doing? Yeah, we added ESLint plugin Prettier, and we added the recommended config file here, and we added Prettier to the plugins, and then we didn't need to be explicit about the Prettier rules, and we can just have the rules that are our custom rules, like having the max line rule and having some rules that kind of conflict with Next.js. I wonder if there's a Next.js plugin. Probably, but I'm not going to mess with that. But some of these things I had to put here just because of Next.js, basically. So it'd be interesting to know, but I don't care right now about that. Let's deal with that later. So what did we do? We added the ESLint Prettier plugin. ESLint Prettier plugin added. There we go. Nice little commit. And so yeah, whoa, that was fast, the commit hooks. I think the pre-commit hooks are a lot faster in Husky 5. I think that I heard that versus Husky 4. I'm not sure if that's true, but it did feel faster than how it was before because my computer's already really, really fast, actually. That'll be part of the PC build episode, by the way, if you guys tune in. So where are we on this? I'm going to start making a line because it's just a wall of text here and it's hard to tell my progression. There we go. I removed the unneeded rules and I ran that. What's the next one? Disable false positive Stylelint rule. Are we there yet? Let me double check if I already haven't done that, honestly. Go into Stylelint here. No, we never did. So in regards to what I'm talking about, if we go to our theme, did I end up? Yeah, see how I got background color without the capital C? I wanted to use camel case there, but it was being a grump and it wasn't allowing that. So two things. I'm going to show you what I wanted to show you here and change it, but then also I'm not going to call it background color anymore because it's kind of repetitive because it's already in the colors subcategory. So I am just going to rename it to background, but first let me show you what I'm talking about. So I named it background color. I fixed the theme to be background color. Save those two things. And where are we using background color? Because I forgot. We are using it here. So you see here how it's complaining in Stylelint. Because of Stylelint, it's saying, what is it saying? Property. Okay, let me rename it first because now it's just saying it doesn't exist. So I renamed it. So now it's complaining on the theme aspect. So it expected a lowercase one, but it's saying based on the value keyword case rule, which is like, nuh-uh. And if we go here and we look at what that is, I'm considering that a false positive, or I'm misunderstanding the rule. But it's like specifying lowercase or uppercase for keywords values, like block is a keyword and stuff. Well, this ain't a keyword, you know? This seems so unrelated to keywords, so I don't know if there's like a trick to not have it complain about this. But until I can figure out what the trick is to have it not complain, I have to exclude that rule. Because it's just getting in the way of me naming the variables the way I want. And to me, it doesn't seem like the rule applies, you know? So that's going to be the one that we disable until I find some cool plugin or extension to do that, basically. So because we have the fancy autocomplete, we can figure out what the thing is to do. So it's rules, and then we put in the rule most likely, and we probably say off, I'm guessing, or null. I don't know. What's it complaining about? Oh, expected null. Okay. Like with the word null? Or this null? Yeah, that looks better. So now if we go to the same place that it was complaining, it's still complaining. Why? So it's not null. Maybe it's off. I could look this up, but I refuse to. Let's do, did it say null here like that? What's the trick to this? Expected null. Well, I put null, guys. So what happened there? Let's quickly peek it because I don't remember what I put. So how do you disable a rule in Stylelint? Stylelint disable rule. Ignoring code. No, I don't want that. I want to disable the rule. This has got to be the way to do it. Let me go back to Stylelint and see, because maybe there was a different field here. Ignore files? No, it's none of that. It's probably in the rules. So let's go to my pre-baked code and just figure out what I used, because I've already done this and I've forgotten what I did. I used null. Well, is this just like ESLint and Stylelint are both like picking on me? Here, let's try this. Let's comment this out. Move that. Oh, it hates comments in JSON. So this is correct. Let's cut this out for a second because I wanna do a test. So remember, I broke the rule already. It's complaining here in VS Code. So if we do npm run Stylelint, it should also complain in the console. Shouldn't it? Is my Stylelint also failing? Let me break something in another way. That's a Stylelint error? Okay, cool. So let's again run Stylelint. Is Stylelint just broken? Oh man, now Stylelint's not working. How long's that been going on? So the Stylelint func command is like not working? Let's double check here. What did I got in package.json? Stylelint tsx files. Is that correct? Yeah, maybe I need to specify the folder though. It's all in styles? Yeah, they're all in styles, right? That's where all my styles are. What if I do that and then I do that? Does that help it understand? Oh, okay. Whoa. No, it hated that. No files matching the pattern were found. I'm greatly misunderstanding how to use Stylelint function, I guess. Let's try to figure this out, right? What if I just do this and make it real simple? Because what's my hook command? Isn't it similar? Just Stylelint -- fix, and then I throw in, I think there's an issue with my Stylelint. I might have to put that as the next stream to try to figure out what I broke in Stylelint. Let's do that then, because Stylelint is in some way broken, I guess, and that's on me. So let's just keep that the way it is. Let's bring this rule back, because I still want to add this rule. This is the correct thing to do, in my opinion, is this rule. I don't know why it's not showing up in the code the way I want it to. Oh, now it is. Okay, so yeah, there we go. So the squiggly lines are gone from theme, because now the rule is properly ignored. It's unrelated to this being wrong though. There's something wrong in my CLI there. So I'm going to make a note on that. Let's just do that quick. We'll put that for next stream here. For next stream, fix Stylelint CLI commands. I'm not going to worry about it for today because I could mess with that forever. But we did the main goal that we wanted to, which was, let's check our changes. So we added the ignore rule, so that we can have a capital C in color without it complaining and saying, oh, it all has to be lowercase. It's like, no, that's a variable name. I'll do whatever I want. So yeah, that was just a false positive in my opinion. But so on that note, I don't want it to be called background color anyways, because it's in colors. So let's just say colors.background. Makes sense. Rename it there. rename it here, and finally rename it in the implementation. There, colors.background. That's fair. I prefer that. So ignore Stylelint false positive and renamed color, because the name was the whole point of the false positive, so I'm combining that commit, and I don't care what you say about it. Unless you have a relevant thing to say, then I care. Always open to hear opinions. Let's go to where we were next, wherever I made that gap. Yeah, so I disabled the false positive. So now let's do a little bit of rearranging with the files, because I'm actually not completely happy with some of the structure here for a few things. So in regards to the context factory, that's like a utility in my opinion, a util. So I'm moving that into utils. Yep, like so. And it's going to break some stuff. And let's go see where I was using context factory and where I broke it. Using it in like a million places. Okay. That's correct. That's correct. Okay, it actually looks pretty correct everywhere. Oh, these changed because the all right, my VS Code now is auto updating imports, but I haven't saved, it doesn't auto save. So I have to auto save and then the build will be fixed. Yep, and it's fixed again. So there we go. I moved context factory, very simple. I'm going to do all these in one commit and just call it like rearrange stuff. The next thing I wanted to do was in components within system. You see how this is just getting bulky? I can be more specific here, and we can use we can make a taskbar folder, because a ton of this is about the taskbar. Let's see what parts are. The clock is on the taskbar. Yeah, the clock is on the taskbar, the start button, the taskbar itself, the entries, and the entry. So we move all those in. Yep. And it's going to do some more updating. Let's just do file save as and hope it fixed the imports properly. Still seems broken, so it probably didn't. So we'll figure that out. Let's figure out what it broke here. Okay, so it didn't auto update everything. So now we have to do a little bit of work here. It's weird, some of it did. It updated the clock, but then it just stopped. There we go. There we go. So those are updated. What are the next things? That's probably a big chunk of it. Oh, it's not everything though. Let's look through these. That one seems fine. I'm just looking for some squiggly lines. Those actually look okay. Oh, it's probably broken on the desktop then where it loads the taskbar. Let's see. Oh, it's not in the desktop where it loads the taskbar. Where does it load the taskbar again? I don't even remember. The taskbar is a process. So it's in the process directory. Yes, and this is wrong because it needs to be taskbar/taskbar. And on that note, I don't like that. There is a way for this to be correct. And the way to do that is to tell it that the taskbar file is the index. See, that fixed it. And I'm happy with that. That's like I don't know what that's called. I call it like implied or inferred import, let's say. So it's actually index.ts here, or index, let's say, but you don't need to put index when it's named index. So I think that's cleaner. So now it's just like almost saying the whole taskbar folder, and that kind of is relevant, the folder. And if we look at the index for the taskbar, it's like styled taskbar with the start button, entries, and a clock. Nice. I'm happy with that. So that was one refactor there. And on that note, we're also going to have to move the styles a little bit because it's the same issue with the styles here. So we'll make another folder here in the styles called taskbar, and we'll do the same thing. We'll move the clock, the start button, the taskbar, the entries, and the entry. Move all of those. And now we just got to fix the imports that are probably broken somehow, somewhere. Let's check. Those all seem fine. The clock seems fine. I think it actually updated everything good. I wonder if auto import doesn't work if it's like several items or something. Let's double check these things here. No squiggly lines. Oh, I saw one there. Oh, see, it didn't update that one. No, see, yeah, that one should be in taskbar, just like the others. There we go. The folder structure is getting a little hefty here, but it's accurate. We got, oh man, it didn't auto import most of these. Okay, fix that one, there we go. And probably this one's wrong too. There we go. So now we're bringing all those in from the correct place. So we can close that. So we've rearranged the taskbar folders. So now if we go components, system, you see it's a little cleaner. And I think we can actually clean it up slightly more. And I'd also like to make a process. Processes or process? Let's go system process. Let's call it processes. because it's got a process loader and the render process. I think those are pretty much connected. They only matter to each other. So yeah, we move those, and then we'll see here that it broke it because the auto import didn't work. Fix that. Yep. And that looks good. Cool. So we've also rearranged that. And I don't know if we have to do anything with the styles. No, that's just the system thing there. So that's clean. So we just kind of put a little bit of folder structure. So now within system, there's processes and taskbar, and they have little separate pieces, whereas the desktop and window currently are standalone. I'm thinking of making a window folder once we need a title bar and stuff, because that's part of the window always. So we'll think about that when we get there. And if anyone ever thinks of any other structural things where it's like, oh man, why is he doing it that way? Please comment, because the reason I'm doing it that way is because I don't know any better typically. And you can give me a haha, you can say I told you so, whatever you feel like, but I appreciate the information anyways. So we just moved a bunch of stuff. Let's do a quick build and just see what we broke, because there's always something broken. And these are the changes we did. So I did the index, like I said, for the inferred import, and I created the process folder. So I basically just did those three things, and it builds still, so I guess I fixed it. So let's just make a note there. Oh, a lot of things changed. This time they actually changed, not like the other time where it was fake. So reorganized files and folders, let's say. Yeah, that works. Cool. So those three things are done, and we can move on to the next thing. Get rid of generic title styled component. Yeah, I think that's just a vestige of a past time. Why does it say this is broken? What did I break here? Oh, it's just complaining about the color. Yeah, I'll fix that at some point. I don't care. What was I talking about? The title. I don't want this title anymore. Even just the folder generic is like, ugh, I'm not ready for that. So what was title doing? It was an H1. The rest I don't care about, honestly, because this is just like such a temporary thing. So I'm going to delete the entire generic title. And the only place it was being used is in my Hello World app. And I want to make my Hello World app even simpler. At some point I was using title just as an example for styled components, but now I have other styled components. So let's just get that out of there. That's just dead code in my opinion. I don't care about that title. I'm not like going to maintain that or nothing. So Hello World's become a lot more simple. Oh, the build's broken. Why did the build break? The build broke at some point. Let's reset node. Oh, because yeah. So if you change the folder structure, Next.js can't handle that. It looks like it needs you to do a reset. But if we reset, I'm hoping it'll work. Let's look up top and fixed. Done. Now you see Hello World's become a lot smaller because I don't have that title styled component, but I don't care about that, like I said. So let's just make a note of that. Removed title component. Title styled component. There we go. Don't need it. Eventually we're going to get rid of Hello World, or maybe we'll just keep it as a fun little thing, We'll think about it. Just as that's where it started. That's where it all started, guys. We'll see. So we fixed that. Next thing. So when last episode, I was mocking up the taskbar, and I got sloppy near the end here, and one of these is wrong. So taskbar, I think it's the clock. Yeah, it's called StyledClock, but you see here it still says styled start button. That's not right. So I missed renaming that. That's a very simple one. Renamed StyledClock variable. And let's not think about that. Simple one there. Oh, this is a nice little refactor I thought that was fun, involving the with server style sheet thing. If you guys remember, I have not a hook, it's like a way to kind of add my styled components thing to, I almost should say with styled components. With server style sheet. That's not very descriptive. Even when I tried to explain it, I was like, wait, what's this again? Yeah, let's rename it too. With styled components, because that is absolutely what it's about. And if we look, it's even importing styled components. It's called the server style sheet. So it's all about that. So did it rename it where it mattered? Probably. I think it's in pages within the document. Yes. Wait, with server. So it did not rename it. Oh yeah, because I just named the file. So let's rename this import too. I want the import to match the file. And let's just double check the export too. Fix that. There we go. Server style sheet is like an implementation detail. What I want is that the document's context is with styled components. So that's prettier to me. So onto the refactor here. The refactor that I wanted to do that is a little cleaner is I want to get rid of all these fragments eventually. And I was thinking about it, and it's like, well, with React, this is basically just an array of 2 components, you know? So what I can do actually is just make an array, and I can just take these 2 pieces and just put them in like that. And then I don't need any of that other code. Now, doesn't that look a bit cleaner, I think? And I tested this and it still works as expected. So that's another cool way to think of like some of these components is like you make a fragment as these things, but in some cases, it just turns into an array in the end, you know, that gets rendered the way that React does that. Now, this probably wouldn't be the right thing to do if I had components within that fragment, but you could see that I wasn't really using components. I was using the bracketed syntax to just dump variables in there anyways. So I feel like this is completely reasonable. And then one other thing I wanted to do, if you see here, it's like initial props is where styles is, but then I'm overriding it here. So I'm like exploding, what do they call this? Prop destructing? I can't remember what they call that right now. Spreading. I'm spreading styles and then I'm overriding it. So I feel like that's a little unnecessary. So I'm going to just do this. I'm going to say extract out styles, and then initial props is everything else. And then here I'll just say styles. There we go. So I feel like that's a little cleaner in some ways. It's less code too. Probably, in theory. I have no idea, but it's just like, yeah, simplifying things, you know? Simple. So let's say I refactored with styled components. I'm just going to call it that right in the commit because that's just better. Just even when it was called something else, I probably, if you'd asked me what it was called, I probably would have thought it was called that. And I forgot that I called it this with implementation detail name. So let's just do that. There's another little fix. So what's the next thing? Yeah, the startup processes. I think I'm just going to get rid of that logic for now because it's like, I got a function to get the startup processes, which is an array that I already define. It's like, let's just go right to defining something. Let's just go right to saying, this is what I want to start up. So this is a heftier refactor, I think, but not too much. Let's go into the process directory here and basically just get rid of this stuff. So right now, hello world and taskbar is what's starting up. And essentially what I want to do within the process, yeah, right now I'm doing get startup processes, and this is returning a object. Yes. So I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to say that the initial state is hello, cap locks, hello world and taskbar. Cool. So I need to import those, which I'm not exporting them yet, so it's going to take a second, but we don't need this anymore at least. And what I like about this is like once I get rid of hello world, I might actually even just stop doing hello world for now. I'm going to keep it because like I say, maybe it'll be fun when we'll need it for other things when we're loading apps, but I'm actually not even going to do hello world. I'm just going to get rid of hello world for now because I don't have the window. I don't have the title bar. It looks silly up there right now. If you see up at the top there. So I think this is almost like the OS or like the shell, you know, like const shell components equal like that, you know, and then just do shell components. I'm not going to do that for now because I haven't thought out the wording there. So I'm just going to do that. But I kind of like that, you know, right now. And it's instead of this function, like it's an interesting way to do it, but I don't know if I'm going to need this. I think when I get to the point where I'm using the session context to check if the user has specified something to start up, then I might use something similar to this. But I can just go back to this later, and this is like, it's too early for this, you know? Right? It's like I have this dynamic function, but I'm just defining everything right here anyways, so kind of pointless. So I'm just going to delete that, and like I say, I'm going to export these things directly. So how am I going to do that? Simple, just like so. That's going to be called the hello world one, and this is the taskbar one. And these are going to be processes, not just the component, processes in quotes, but I have a type for it. So I might even say process here. Process, that's clear. I mean, it'll get repetitive a little bit, but it's very clear. Oh, and this is the process structure of component and has window, which is optional. So that works there. I need to import process. We'll do that. We no longer have a processes list, I think. I don't know if it's used elsewhere. I think it is used elsewhere, so we're not going to get rid of it, of that type. Yeah, that's good there. And then the taskbar is the same. Equals that. I'm also going to specify that it's a process, like so. Yep. And there we go. We don't even need the process directory anymore. And it's complaining here. I'm going to call this a refactor of the entire process directory, and I'm actually going to go do one more step that I wanted to do, which is make all processes dynamic. So yes, I load the taskbar right away, but I'm making it dynamic because for now I like that idea until I change my mind, you know? System-taskbar. Cool. So now I don't need this. And there. Now isn't the code a lot cleaner? That's a lot more simplistic at least, right? And now if I go here, I can import this properly. No, I can't. Why is that? Who's to say? I'll just type it in and we'll see that it works. Import taskbar from, where was the utils? The utils. Process directory. There we go. So from the process directory, grab the taskbar, and then that's what we're going to use to start the initial process state. So if I save that, there we go. So now we have our window, we lost our hello world, and now if you see, watch, I'll show you, I'll put hello world in here just like this. So hello world, and watch it import this. No, it doesn't know about that either. Okay. Hello world, and let me refresh again because it's just being silly. Reload. There we go. There's hello world. So if I don't want it, I just delete it here. And for some reason, I think because when you mess with imports, it requires a full refresh. Because, oh no, that time it worked. If you remove it, it works, but if I added it, it did not. Let's not mess with it too much. So I just made that a lot cleaner. It's a lot less code. We lost our little startup process idea, but hey, it works, you know? So I'm going to just copy this exactly. No more startup processes. Or, well, that doesn't make sense because the taskbar is on startup. No more startup processes function, right? And yeah, so you see here the code barely had to change. Just instead of that function, now I'm just passing the taskbar directly and no more hello world. So we're gone hello world for now. And in the directory, you see it's a lot of red there. I made it a lot more simple. And also now you can move around the processes without talking about process directory. We don't need to know about it. Maybe it'll make sense later, but probably not. So let's commit that. And let's move on to the next thing. Load every process dynamic. Darn it, I didn't mention that in the commit name, but that is another piece that I did. So the next little refactor is I'd like to get the default theme out and make it in its own little thing. That's another piece of the puzzle. So you see right now I have the themes folder and I just have the default theme in here. Let's just give it its own file, right? .ts, and we can just take it from right here, I think. There we go. So that file is a lot more simple now. And if we put that in here and then we export the default theme, export default theme. Yeah, that seems a little weird, the wording there, but that's correct. And now we still can't auto import. I don't think auto import is going to work today for some reason. From styles/default theme. There we go. So now we're importing it. So you see that file is a lot more simple. This file is almost an implementation detail now, and you can nice and cleanly add a theme. So if someone else adds another theme, it's like import here and then just add it to this list, basically. I like the cleanliness of that. And now this is very clearly isolated. This is just the default theme. And yeah, that's it for that little piece. And let's do one more other step actually for extraction, because this is going to be relevant later, is that I'd also like to extract out colors and wallpaper into their own constants within the default theme, because then in other places I can also reference those colors. Whereas here when I'm making the object, I don't think I could. Maybe I could do like this or self. No, that wouldn't work, but I don't even want to think about it, honestly. I just want to do this and extract it out. So const colors equals there. And I like the cleanliness of this, colors, and then same for wallpaper. Const the wallpaper in regards to this theme is this. There we go. And simplify that. And now this could probably be a one-liner for now. At some point it might be too long, but we're not there yet. So I like the cleanliness of that too. So now you see here in colors, I could actually specify, let's do it in fact. Let's say the wallpaper, it's a little confusing here because the color is this wonky number in this case, but let's say that. And should we? No. It's such a wonky number for now that I'm going to consider that an implementation detail. I'm going to keep it in the Vanta settings. Maybe at some point I'll make a color converter so that the theme I can specify a nice clean color instead of this hexadecimal garbage that I don't know what color that is. We're going to change this color later anyways to something darker, but I'm going to use the same number format for now. Anyways, I've refactored the default theme. It still seems to work, and it's much preferred in my opinion. So let's do that. So we moved it out, and we also kind of split it up. Refactored default theme and extracted. Maybe just extracted. It's a refactor too. It's a refactor, guys. What's next? How are we on time here? We're already in an hour. Cool. So yeah, we did that. What's the next thing here? Wallpaper is optional within the theme. Oh, okay. Maybe I didn't specify that, I guess. Yeah, here I don't have it as optional, but you could have it as optional within a theme. And if you see within, when I load it within the wallpaper hook, there is this check that, so there's the possibility in my mind that it's not defined, but clearly we have defined it here, and that doesn't need to be the case. Yeah, sorry, here. Yeah, so we're checking for it. So it's like, it might not exist, but here we're kind of like, it's got to exist, you know? So that's not right. So in this case, now it's optional, but we are specifying it in our default theme, so that's okay. So like if I had cut this out before, it would have been like, no. But I'm perfectly fine with a person to make a theme that has no wallpaper, because that will use the background color then, right? And that's required, I believe. So yeah, you need to set a background color, because even if you specified a wallpaper, if for some reason it doesn't load, like for some reason you don't have WebGL, then it's going to fall back to the background color, in theory, I think. That's how I'd want it to work. So wallpaper is optional within theme. Yep. What's next? Extract all relevant values into the theme. Yeah, let's do that next. So I was sloppy last night, or last stream, in regards to doing my mocking up of the styles. And if you see here, is it the taskbar styles? It's probably all of them, but especially the taskbar styles. I've just put widths and numbers in here. These are specific to Windows 10, essentially, because right now I'm making a Windows 10 looking theme, which I'm calling the default theme, because that's the default for how I'd like it to look. But let's extract all these out, right? We don't need these. So let's copy this little clean logic here, and let's just make it how we want it to be, and then we'll kind of do the rest after. So actually, let's just do them one at a time, because I need to keep the numbers too. So here's the clock one, and I want to make, instead of colors, it's going to be called sizes. So theme.sizes.clock, clock.width, let's say, right? And it's going to be 90 pixels. So now if we go into the theme, there was a sizes one, and within that it was a clock, and within that there was a width. And everyone's going to need to specify that, because I don't want anyone to not have a clock right now. I guess in the future I could have the logic where, like, if there's no width, don't show the clock, or I could have a default. Let's not do that. Let's just say, hey, if you want to make a theme, you got to be explicit, because I'm not going to make a bunch of error cases for you. Not my thing. So this is a string. And then if we go into the theme, we can specify it, which is the default theme. And now you see it's complaining about the default theme. And if we hover, it's probably because of that. Yeah, it's like you're missing the sizes thing, and you're just missing sizes altogether, it's saying, because sizes, as you see, is not optional. Save that, go into our default theme, and we just have to add sizes. So I'm going to do the same thing, where I'm going to add it as its own variable here, sizes, and then we'll put it there. And the size, the first one we had was the clock, and it's width, and I've lost what I had the width to, so let's just see what file I changed. I don't remember what the width was. Save this so I can see what I don't have anymore. 90, right, 90 pixels, yeah. I lost that on my clipboard. There we go, 90 pixels, and it has to be a string. There, so we got our 90 pixels back. So now if I save that, it should work. There we go. So you see the clock is still the width that I wanted it to be. And we'll close that, and then let's just move on to the next one. So you see that refactor took a bit of time, but that's because I was trying to remember where everything was. Hopefully the next one will be a bit faster here. Oops. I'm going to open default theme, so I have every relevant file open, and I can click them all here. So the next piece, so let's see, for the clock, is there anything else we want to extract out? I think it's always going to be 100%, because that's more of an implementation detail in regards to the taskbar, and then it's in the taskbar, but it always takes up all taskbar. Position absolute, yeah, right, yeah, it's to the right. I guess that could be maybe at some point we'll make that something that can be customized as well, but I'm not going to get there. Actually, at one point too, what I was thinking is that once I have the ability to drag the taskbar so it can be horizontal or vertical, then I'll have to add some like props passing maybe, and each little piece will need to know. So like now the clock would be at the bottom, so the bottom is 0 and right is not relevant as much anymore. And maybe width would be 100% and height would not be 100%. So once I start having like orientations for the taskbar, then I'll have to rethink all this, but we're not there yet. So start button, same thing. It's got a width, it's 30 pixels. Should I just call that start? Let's do start button with a capital B. Oh, why is it complaining? Property, oh yeah, it doesn't exist. Okay, I thought it was gonna be like, you can't use a capital B or camel case. It's like, dude, I fixed that already. So what did we call that? We called that the start button. And we needed to specify the width of a string. And then we go into the default theme and do the same. Start button, width, and we got it there, 30 pixels. There we go, we got another one to the list. Save that. That's the button. Was there anything else in the button? No. I think that was it. Yeah, again, the height is the same thing. Needs to be 100%. I might even make like a mix-in. This is like later on in my stream notes, but I'd like to do some like styled component mix-ins. So like I could attribute all of these a mix-in where it's like start taskbar item. Like the clock is a taskbar item, the start button's a taskbar item, and then it could apply some generic stylings like the height's 100% and position's absolute, I guess. There's not a lot that's common, so maybe it's a little unnecessary. Anyways, that was it for that, was that width. So let's close that. Now taskbar. The height, yeah, the height could be changed. And again, we're not gonna talk about orientation yet, so let's just change the height. And it's also 30 pixels, that's nice. And we call this the taskbar, yes. And in this case, it's the height. Taskbar, yeah. So let's go here, element of P, Q, R, S, T. So it's a T here. The taskbar is a height of 30 pixels, all right? And we need to add that here. Taskbar height, and by defining the theme this way, it makes it a lot easier for other people to make a theme, because I've been very explicit about here are the things you need in the theme. And yeah, maybe in the future I'll have defaults. Like if someone doesn't specify something in the theme, it goes to the default theme and uses that value. But that I haven't thought that far through yet. So for now, like I said, you just have to be explicit. The easiest way to do that is just copy the default theme and then change the things you want, right? That seems simple. I'm perfectly happy with that. So we've done the taskbar now. Everything else is okay. We are probably going to change the way position works in the near future, and I'll get into why. But for now, that's good. Taskbar height. Yeah, that was right. That was the height. I changed taskbar height. Width is width. Yep. Taskbar entries. So this one, here's a cool piece too, is now that we have those variables, we can kind of be more explicit with this. So right now, the taskbar entries, this piece here, if you guys see me highlighting here with my mouse, I'm saying that the taskbar entries, which is this pink and purple piece, starts left of 30 pixels, but it actually starts left of the start button. That's all I care about. So now I can just say left of the width of the start button. Start button width. There we go. So essentially, it's like a free little comment. You know, if before I had 30 pixels, it's like I could just say start button width now. And it's the same here, I think. Right, 90 pixels for the start entries. Oh yeah, so the 90 pixels is the clock width. Yeah. Exactly. So now I've made this one number too. That was another really good way to do that. So there we go. So the taskbar entries is a lot cleaner, and you see the visuals didn't change. And there's some other stuff I'll change here later, but for now, I think that's it for those two pieces. So yeah, the left is the start button width and the right is the clock. And later when we get into the VM part and I'm talking about dimensions, we'll talk about maybe changing this in the future, because Windows does have a few things that I didn't show, and you can hide them, like the system tray, like the little peak desktop thing. There's registry things you can do to hide most of that and get rid of it. And I do most of that in my own Windows, but we might add those at some point. So I'll get into that later, depending on time permitting. So we've done taskbar entries as well. Yeah, that one we didn't need to make any new theme values. We were able to use the ones we just made. And then the next one here is, yes, the width of a taskbar entry item. That is the last little piece of the puzzle, I think, but let's just make sure. So that's 80, and that is the, let's say task, we already have taskbar. Let's go .entry.width and make a subcategory for entry. I like the cleanliness of that because it's kind of a piece of it. And I guess you could argue the start button is too, but let's not argue that. Don't argue, please. So now we need the entry here, and like I said, I wanted to specify the width, and it was 80 pixels, apparently, according to my clipboard. So there we go, entry width, and we have to specify that in the theme file. Width is a string, like so. And there we go. So did that work? Yeah, that worked. Cool. So now we've kind of extracted out all those taskbar pieces, at least, other than these 100%ers, which are going to have to flip based on the orientation, and that'll be another episode. Let's just see in the style desktop if there's anything that could be themable. Pretty much no here. This is all very clearly about relevant stuff. And is it the same story here? Yeah, this is already a themed piece. So there we go. So we just themed out everything. The global style, we can do themes in the global style now, but there's nothing that's really theme-ish here. Could be in the future, who knows? So yeah, we've kind of extracted all that stuff out and it's kind of working. So that's cool. Let's close all these pieces and let's just copy whatever wording I used here. Extract all relevant values into the theme. That is what I did. And we could review it. I basically just added sizes. That was what was missing. So that's a cool thing. So now let's imagine that someone does a Windows 98 theme. Obviously these things might be a little different. I don't know, the height, the start button, that kind of thing. But everything's going to be here at some point in the theme so that you can have a Windows 98 theme. You can have a Windows 10 theme, all that stuff. We're not there yet. So we got all these pieces here, I think. We got the alphabeticalness correct for the most part. And I think I've used proper variables here. That's the clock width and it's in the clock. This is the start button width and it's where you'd expect it to be. This is the taskbar height, yeah. And here for the left and right, we're able to use the pre-existing widths. And here we made an entry width. Yeah, okay, cool. So that is what I did. I extracted, it's done now, all relevant values. Cool. So that's done. So what's the next thing? Don't use width for styled taskbar entries. Yeah, so if we go and inspect the taskbar entry item here, if you see here, I'm just going to hover over it. You see here how the clock also kind of turned a bit blue? Like you see the start button's correct, but if you hover over that, that's not right. And if we hover over the process, well, for some reason the taskbar turns red. I guess to say it's like a child of it, or that's the parent. But the issue is this. You see how it goes over the clock? That's because I've set it to 100% width. And the thing I'm talking about, it's hard for me to point. If you see me pointing here, you see how it turns blue, how the colors are changing there. So when I hover there, it's saying that it's like 300 pixels. I think it says the width there, 300 by 30. That's not correct. It should be less than that because it's also attributing the clock, I think, as well. I think it's saying 300 is like the entire viewport or the taskbar, just because of the way I'm doing 100%. It's not correct, basically. So let's just quickly fix that. That is in the taskbar entries. Here we go. Is that what it was? Taskbar entries, is that what I said? Yeah, style taskbar entries. So if we remove the width here and I save that, and now when I hover over it, see, so now it's just a piece that is the taskbar entries and it's 180 pixels, it says. So I don't need to specify the width there. It's just default already kind of filling up the space because I've set its left and right bounds, I think. That's my thinking on that. So I like the cleanliness of that. I think Daniel had mentioned the other day, one of the commenters in my stream, about using flex in this scenario, a flex box. And I might in the future, I don't know. But for now, I like this explicivity of what I've done. It could get a little silly if we have the sys tray too in here in between the the purple and the green, because then I'm saying taskbar entries is to the right of the clock width plus this plus whatever. I get into adding a bunch of elements together, but something about that still isn't so terrible because it's very explicit. So I kind of like it. So I've done that, and I'm just gonna copy this wording again here and commit that. So don't use width 100%. Don't use width at all. Don't specify width. I'm already specifying left and right. That's going to be enough for me right now. What's the next one here? Remove left and right from styled taskbar. Let's just see what I was talking about here, because I'm not sure I like that idea. Right, so I was going to remove left and right because I guess they're redundant, because we already are saying 100% of the viewport. But I'm kind of doing that for the desktop too, where I'm saying 100 and 100, and I'm still saying it hits both sides. I think that there's some logic to some browsers having that being helpful to have that. I could be wrong, but I don't think it hurts, because it is accurate that it is all the way to the left and all the way to the right. So there's no adjustment from those, like 1 pixel from the right, 1 pixel from the left. No, 0 and 0. So I made a comment here that I was going to do that, but I'm actually changing my mind on that little piece. And now we can get into another little aspect that I wanted to get into, which was some of the centering. So if you see here, the X, my X is actually pretty centered. What is the start button here? It's just pure coincidence that the X looks quite centered here, I guess. Yeah, surprisingly so. If I inspect here, yeah, I'm not doing any centering here. It just by coincidence, the X happens to be very well centered. But we're going to be explicit about that. If we see in my notes here, I've said the start button, the clock, and the taskbar entries. The taskbar entries, the clock, and the X, I would like to be as absolutely centered as possible. And the way that I'm going to do that is with Flexbox. But before I'm actually going to jump one step ahead here, just to show you the two values I'm going to use are place content and place items. And the reason I'm talking about Flexbox is you'll see here that those values only matter when we're using either grid or Flexbox. And Flexbox is what I'd like to use for now. It's a type of layout. It's a type of display layout. I'm not going to get too into it right now. It's one of the preferable ones. It's like I said, Daniel was suggesting it, but it allows you a lot of other CSS variables and a lot of flexibility that you didn't used to get 10, 15 years ago when you wanted to do this kind of thing. I don't know how long Flex has been around, but it's really helpful for getting things positioned properly. And it makes this a lot easier. So if you see place content, there's a shorthand property that allows you to align content along both the block and inline directions at once. So it's like doing align content and justify content at the same time. And the place items one is like the similar one of that. I'll just switch URLs here. But it's for align items and for justify items. So these are kind of like shorthands, and you don't necessarily need all of them. Often I can do align content and justify items, which is like a mix of both. And that usually gets the positioning the way I want. But I figure if I'm going to do 2 CSS variables anyways, I might as well just do those 2 and then be like, this is as centered as possible in Flexbox. So what are the 3? Clock, start button, and taskbar entries. Let's start with clock then. Clock. So yeah, I want that text very centered. And this gets back to the styled components mix-in idea, because there's 3 things and I'm going to apply it to all 3 components. So I think it would be nice to have like I'm actually going to try to do that right now, in fact. So you see here in my comment notes, I put styled component mix-in ? But I couldn't really find it in the documentation. I'm not going to waste time messing with it this episode. Maybe next episode I'll refactor it. But I'll just cutting to the chase, I'll show you. Basically, you can do like that and put in like centered. And then as long as centered is another type of styled component, I think, maybe, then it'll just work. Let's try this here. Const centered equals styled. And I'm not going to specify a type, but I don't know if that works. It seems okay with that at the moment, but let's just see. And the 3 things I wanted to specify were display flex, so that it can use those 2 items, place content center, and place items center. Now let's see what it's complaining about. Let's see if I do this, .time. Yeah, so it actually wants me to specify that. Let's take a quick peek into this styled components idea. Styled components mix-in. You see, I was searching for it earlier. This dude here suggested something, but I wanted to see how he did it. Text input. Oh, it's like oh, okay. So I can just use that piece, and I don't even need props, so let's not worry about that. So I might have overthought it here. What if I just get rid of this? So now it's actually happy with that, and then I just put centered in here. Unexpected extra semicolon. Well, which is the extra semicolon? Are you suggesting this one? Now that complains. It's a weird one there. Is it? I wonder what the story is here. So I don't know the complete implementation here, but in that example, he did the exact same thing, basically. What if I put this at the end? Does it stop complaining if it's at the bottom? No, background's complaining. Unexpected extra semicolon. Are you referring to this one? Whoa, that's weird. Yeah, so I really am not comfortable with this refactor when it's so silly. Is this another Stylelint being wrong kind of thing? Because if I fix it here and then I do that, is it the same error? No, it's not. Yeah, okay, so it's a different error. So maybe let's just ignore yet another Stylelint error until we figure out how to solve all these. So no extra semicolons. I think that that's wrong. Let's look it up quick. No extra semicolons. Yeah, you see, its example is that. That's not what I was doing, you know? That's what's frustrating. This is another time where I think the styled components is not correct. Or Stylelint, sorry. And that's where it's confusing because it's like, okay, well I have the Sass, I have this. Shouldn't the Stylelint config styled components be doing that? So this one's also null, and I've got the alphabetical part wrong there. There we go. So that is also being ignored. So now it's not complaining about this. Maybe now I can move this back to the top. Oops. Oh man. Declaration empty line before. It's like it doesn't even see this. It's like it's invisible. So I'm really not liking this implementation. Also it changes the coloring here. Okay, so then for now, let's just ignore the styled components idea. It's already frustrating me. Not styled components, sorry, this mix-in idea. So let's not do that. So let's just get rid of this and let's just put these in 3 times. And next episode, I'll figure out how to not do that and to do it like how I'm trying to do there, but I don't know how. So I'm not gonna mess with it forever. There we go. So now if we look at, if I save that, you'll see the clock, boom. Now it's very centered here, you see? So that is centered. You know, centered. Nice joke there, Dustin. So let's copy that. Let's just copy this whole piece and I'll remove height. What were the other two I wanted to apply it to? The button and the entry, right? So the start button, oh nice, height's right there anyways. I could just drop it right in. Oh, but left needs to be up here. There we go, alphabetically, what is it? Oh, there's a little white space that snuck in there. I didn't even mean to do that. So we got that one, and let's just do one more, which was the taskbar entry. So you see the button didn't really change visually, or did it? Let's try here. If I comment that out, because I remember how I said it was suspiciously well centered already. So if I save that, let's watch the X and see if it moves a little bit. No. Okay, well, it's more centered. I mean, if the start button was bigger, maybe we'd notice this, but maybe just coincidentally, it's perfectly the right size as it is. So let's not worry about that. Copy these, and the next one was, the last one was the entry. Get that, remove that left piece, but we had height. And there we go. You see the entry is also centered because that's how it is in Windows. It's like icon and then label. It's centered. And we'll have to get into the padding, I think, in the very near future, because the padding is going to add, let's not get into the padding right now because I actually am not remembering why I added padding if I was centering it as well. Yeah, let's not think on that one for now because that's confusing. Because I don't have padding yet, but I was thinking of adding it. So there we go. So let's put this Stylelint component mix in to be the next episode. That's another next stream thing. Stylelint component mix in. Call it the centered mix in because that's what we want it for. And yeah, so other than that, we have centered the items. So let's just say that. And I've also had to ignore this. Oh no, I don't need that anymore. Jeez, that was because I couldn't figure things out. So let's undo that. There we go. Let's just focus on the centering. So we added centering, yeah. So centered content of taskbar components. Yeah. Now I didn't center the, what things did I not center? The taskbar itself, that's not relevant because everything's being explicit. Everything inside the taskbar is just other components. And I also didn't do the entries because the entries is just a list of entries and it's not centered. If it was centered, the first entry would be right in the middle and that wouldn't look right. There we go. So where are we here? We just did that one. So yeah, let's get on to the next little piece here. And this is a little fun learning exercise for me as well. So the way that I found out that I needed to adjust my stacking context position is when I had hello world and I had moved it to the bottom, I noticed that it went behind the desktop. Hello world got lost. Hello world was in front because it was the absolute position, I believe, whereas the desktop was a fixed position. But the taskbar was also an absolute position, but the taskbar was within the desktop, which was a fixed position. So it also went above the taskbar, the window, even when I adjusted the Z index, it didn't matter. And I should have already known my lesson, honestly, because I've dealt with this a lot. But it's essentially the stacking context. And we won't get super deep into this, but this gets into the Z index and essentially where you want the items to be. And it's not just all about setting the Z index. It also matters about a lot of other things, honestly. And it kind of goes through them here. And you can kind of see this is essentially is this the order itself? This occurs, I don't know if this is the order. I think it is. I mean, these are all the things to consider anyways. Let's pretend it's the order for now because this kind of highlights the problem I had, which, as you see here, element with a position value of fixed or sticky. You see how this, in this list at least, is below this other one, which is element with a position value of absolute. So I think for the stacking context, I think absolute and fixed are not in the same stacking context, basically, and I would like them to be. So I'm going to just put everything as absolute that I care about, and that just works out better. And I think that will work out for my window logic too, for my dragging and all that stuff. I think that also I was using absolute. So let's just do that. And what else did I make any other notes of interest on this? Position, yeah, oh yes, I did want to mention position because I also wanted to talk about the stacking context that I do know about. So the default stacking context is static, I believe. Let's just search for the word. Yeah, it's said right there. This is the default. So if you don't specify, you get static. And the reason that that's worth talking about, let's go to the web page here too. Let's just load it on our big browser. So if we inspect the page and we look here at the div next, and we just move this up so I can see it. So if we go to computed, we can see the position. So we don't see position. Now, if we don't see position, we should assume default is my thinking. But a cool way if you want to know and you want to be sure is I can say, okay, let's just do position inherit and see, or it might be initial. I don't know, initial inherit. Let's try both. So you see now it says static. Now it's clear that the computed one, if you want inherit, will be static. Let's also try initial and just see if that gets us a different result. I don't think it will. No, static. So that matches with what we saw in the MDN website, that the position, if not specified, will be static. So why is that relevant? So if we look at our current structure, you see here that we have the HTML. Okay, that's at the top. That was also part of the stacking context. That's fine. But then, so the body does not have a position set. No. And the HTML doesn't have a position set either. I don't know if I mean, in the stacking context, it still might be above stuff, but everything's inside HTML. So that's all within that context, at least. That's all the child of that context. And then, yeah, body and div, as we saw, are not computed, so that they're going to be default static. And static isn't even mentioned in this here, I don't think. Yeah, static is like, I don't know, like not even set or bottom of the barrel. I don't know. They don't specify necessarily, but let's just assume that. So the first one that's set is main. And like I said, right now we have fixed, which is wrong. So let's fix it being fixed. Let's fix fixed. Yeah, that's confusing. So again, where did I find my note? Because I keep losing track of the note that's relevant here. Centered. Yes. Let's do that. I need the new line so I know. So here's where I am. Yeah, I've talked about position, so let's just do it now. So I'm just going to search for position, actually, and see where I've set it. So I've set it in a few places. You see I've got fixed and absolute inconsistently here. So if I switch them all to absolute, I don't think it makes any difference. And at some point, we're going to start setting Z indexes so that we can say, you know, this is always here, this is always there. Oh, what has it done? Why did it do that? Let's refresh this. You see now how I've got a scroll bar. I don't want that. Okay, so if everything is absolute, maybe it's trying to set an overflow now. I don't know why it's doing that. For like, yeah, that's weird. Let's just disable over. Wow, why is it doing that though? That's so wonky. It wasn't doing that for me earlier. And if I set this back to fixed, it's not doing that? Yeah, Well, that's weird. I don't know what to think about that. Oh, now it's 2 scroll bars. Is this just completely unrelated? Why is it doing that? That's weird. And if I reload the page, I got rid of 1 taskbar, but it seems like there's like some kind of little overflow here. Let's just try disabling overflow for now. What's the setting for overflow again? Hidden. Oh, alphabetical. And now let's see if that gets rid of the taskbar. It probably will. Yeah, that looks exactly the same to me. So what if I do, let's just try this here. Watch, fixed, and get rid of that, and watch literally nothing change on the app. Yeah, there wasn't a single pixel of movement. So I don't know why it was showing a scroll bar there. It's time to add that to the notes, I guess, right? Let's go into our notes and add that as another to-do to figure out what the heck I just did there. So that's for next stream. And we're going to, why do I need overflow on the desktop? When absolute. Let's figure that out, because that didn't quite make sense to me, to be honest. But for now, let's just keep it, hey? Until we figure out why it's needed. So now everything's position absolute. So at least that's going to fix the stacking context when we start messing around with z-index, which is what was important to me in the first place. Because we could have done absolute, we could have done fixed, but we're going to have them all the same. I wonder if they could just all be fixed. Is that what I did last time? Let's comment this out again, and let's just make them all fixed, because I'm fine with that too, actually. I mean, other than that, I don't know if the difference is so relevant. I think I'd be okay if they're fixed if it works. Let's just change all of them and see what breaks. Oh, a lot broke. So let's not even, I mean, there's probably some very good reason why that happened. Like I said, I've already made a note to figure out why I need overflow. I feel like I didn't need it last time, so I'll have to look at my code later, but easy to make note. So for now, everything, like I said, everything's on the same position at least, so I've made the z-index consistent. Let's just write that, in fact. Oh, I only had to change 2 of them in the end. Made stacking context position consistent. Right. So everything's going to be absolute, I think, for now, until I figure out what's going on with overflow and all that crap. Cool. What's next on the fixing list? So button. I don't know if I did this last time. I think I mentioned it in the stream, but for button, you want to specify type, because if the default behavior for a button, if you don't specify type, is submit. So if I had some kind of form or something on the page and I click that button, it's probably going to try to do submit. I mean, I don't have a form, so nothing's happening, I guess, and there's no on-click event and all that stuff, but this is a button, right? Sorry guys, let me jump to the code. I was clicking the X there and nothing was happening, and I was trying to double check. Yes, that is a button. There's no clicking thing, but let's pretend had there been a form, it would have tried to submit the form, and I don't want that. I don't even want that. That's silly. So if we just go back to what types we can specify, button is the type of button I want. And honestly, shouldn't that not be the default for button? Is that it's a button? Whatever, right? So all we have to do is specify type. So let's go to wherever we're using button. I think we're only using it in one place. Yeah, for the start button. Surprise, surprise. Now we can't specify it here. We have to specify it on the element. So I'm going to have to specify it on the styled start button component, which is right here. So there's the start button, and all we have to do is just add a type called button. There we go. And this is over 80 characters, so I'm just going to do what Stylelint is going to want to do, I think, which is that. Actually, I'm just going to, not Stylelint, sorry, Prettier, but let's just see what Prettier wants to do with that. Maybe I don't want to change something else. Yeah, okay. I also wanted to add bracket notation, or brackets there, whatever. So that's button is updated. And oh, what happened here? Oh, again, it's doing its, I want to change stuff. Oh, so yeah, I should have run Prettier earlier. I guess I missed these. We'll commit that in a second one here. Let's just do this here. So added type to button. And then here in the styled And then just these two pieces here, because this won't be anything. This is another one of those you changed the file, but you didn't change the file kind of thing that Prettier wants to do. But this is actually wrong. So fixed Prettier issues in styled.ts. We'll be specific there. There we go. So next one. Right. This is another one where I feel like I mentioned in the stream that I wanted to do it a certain way and then I didn't do it that way. I don't know why. But the main element, I know of one issue in regards to Internet Explorer because it's mentioned at the bottom here. But basically all of Internet Explorer does not support the main semantic element in the correct way. So you need to specify the role to just be certain. Now, in theory, I don't even really think I'm supporting Internet Explorer. Maybe at some point I'll try to make it compatible with anything I've not done that is compatible. Maybe throw some polyfills in there necessarily. But this is an easy one, and it's just being explicit, so I don't mind doing it. I'm just going to do it. Because, yeah, like I say, it doesn't hurt. And then at least I'm not on purpose not supporting IE. Like, as far as I know, I have mostly things that support IE. I don't know about the wallpaper and all that stuff, but let's just do it for main as well. And again, this needs to be on the component. So to go to desktop, and it's the style desktop, I believe. Yeah, the style desktop is using main. So we also have to specify a type here. Oh, not type, sorry, role. And I've already copied it into my clipboard anyways. There we go. And that's probably going to also need a little Prettier action. So let's watch, you'll see here. It'll probably, yeah, redo that. And I actually like that. That looks nice there. So it's a little easier to see in that it's a shorter amount there because it's not going over. So sometimes I like, it's like you add code and then when it reformats it, it's like, this is actually nicer with more code. So I think that fits here. And it's also nice here because you're saying role main because it's not clear now that we're using styled components, we kind of obfuscate what HTML semantic element was used. So there's something nice about knowing that the desktop's role is main. And we're actually going to come back to that too, because I'm going to be redoing the test. I think currently our test is probably broken again because it was looking for Hello World and I've removed the Hello World app. But I'm going to change the test to be looking for roles. And that's actually a thing that's recommended for the React testing library is to test roles. And I like that idea too. Like, let's just test that the desktop role is there. Sounds nice. And it's better than what we were doing with the Hello World because we were just like who cares if the word hello world is on our page? Did the desktop load? You know, that's more important to me. So that's that one. So let's say set role for main. And that is all we did. Set role for main element. I could say explicitly set role for main element because it already was the main semantic element, which on most browsers, it would have known that is the main role. And I've also noted to do set DateTime. That's like one, if we ran the code through the W3C validator right now, it would complain because I've made our clock a time HTML semantic element, but I haven't specified DateTime, which is essentially required. Let's do it right now, actually, because I'm gonna do it as lazy as I did the clock itself. So if you see the clock is not a clock right now, it's just this exact time that was the time that it was when I made this component. So I'm going to do essentially the same thing here, date time, and I'm going to specify the same thing. But we're going to go into the browser here and look at what the format is because I don't know. And this is a tricky thing too, that when we make the clock, we're going to have to be tricky about this format. You can't just dump a time in there, or you can't dump the format of whatever I decide to format the clock because it'll complain about that. So for now, we're just going to specify one of these formats. And as you see here, because if you look at my format for the time, it's this little format like that with the PM at the end, which you can make Windows do. But if you look at the format here, they don't have any of that. These are the formats they allow. And this is the closest one, I think, to our format is the 24-hour time. So I prefer the AM PM time, but in the date time, I'm going to have the 24-hour time, but in the display time, I'm going to have my AM PM time. And at some point, I may allow the user to switch because obviously I'm going to have to compute both of them anyways. So for now, we will just do the 24-hour time. Ugh, that's not what I meant to do. So this piece will be the same, obviously, but 11 o'clock in PM is 2300 hours, right? Why is date time complaining now? Is that not what the tag is? Let's double check. That's exactly what it is. So what happened? Let's read the error, for the heck of it. What is the actual error? Oh my god, that's a lot of words. No overload matches this call. That's not cool. But you know it's a time HTML attribute. DateTime absolutely exists. Oh, you know what it is? Maybe it's a capital T. Maybe it's like a React thing where it's like, no, we don't use that. Yep, that's what it is. So I think it renders that way, but I think it's okay because capitalization doesn't really matter for HTML. Let's confirm that. If I inspect the element here, yeah, no, it is lowercase actually. Sorry, you guys can't see that here. Let me switch to the browser because I don't have a dev tools in that little boxy window. But if you see, we inspect the clock here. So you see it is adding date time, but without the capital T. So it does know how to properly do that. And you see it added the one we wanted to. So as a test, actually, what we could do, I want to test this on the W3C validator. Let's just inspect, view the source here, copy that, and let's just check out the W3C validator and see if it doesn't complain now. What's it complaining about now? The main role is unnecessary for element. No, it's not, good sir. Huh. Oh, that's frustrating. So that I actually break the validator in trying to support IE. That's silly. It's not unnecessary. Because no, look dude, I already look if you go to main and you read here, it says the main element is widely supported. For IE 11 and lower, it suggested an ARIA role of main be added. Suggested by who? Not by the W3C apparently, right? I'm going to keep it for now, and I'm going to ignore the fact that this is invalid because I think it's more valid than what you call valid, good sir. That's my opinion on it right now until someone tells me different. So this is going to need some prettier action, like that. And there we go. So now we've added date time to the styled, let's say added date time to time element. Cool. So that's good, and we're going to ignore the fact that W3C is still invalid, but whatever. So we've done that one. Man, we got so many refactors we've done here. It's crazy. It's all refactors. So prefer arrow function to function declaration for pages. Yeah. So basically what I wanted to do here is I just wanted to get rid of using the word function at all. So space, function, space. So you see in two cases here, we're doing function still. But I'm just going to go all arrow functions because it's more consistent and I actually like that. So we'll do here const app equals, and we'll take out this entire thing basically as it is right now, but it's wrong. And now we have to convert it to an arrow function via that. There we go. And then we export default app like so. So there we go. So there's another piece to this that I want to do that I think is nice and cleaner. Is that now that it's an arrow function, I can get rid of this return thing, and I can just go straight to the bracket return and just the explicit return, or whatever you call it. So there we go. So I made it a little smaller, I think, in some ways. And actually, can this be a one-liner now? Probably not. Let's check, because we don't know the word function anymore. Is it 80 characters? 74 characters. Nice. So it's even shorter, right? So that's a little cleaner, I think. And there's one other place, which is document, I believe. Oh, this is different. This I think we need when we're doing extensions. I don't know how to arrow function that up. I think there is some way to do it. Like maybe I could do, no, let's not mess with that. This is clean the way it is, but index is another one here where I've used the function syntax. And I'm calling it home, I guess. Maybe call it index, right? What about index? Or home, home. Okay, let's keep it as home. That's what Next.js wants it to be called. Again, we copy this, paste it there, convert it to an arrow function, and then convert it to not need the return, and then get rid of that piece, and there we go. Same thing, basically. So again, that's pretty, I think that's cleaner in some ways. In some ways it might not be. So prefer arrow to function declaration for pages. Yeah, let's just use that description that I've written there. Paste that in there. And what's the next thing on our list? Yes. Let's leave that till a little bit later. I wanted to fix the test. Yes, change test here. Because I just switched the role earlier and I was telling you guys about that. Let's just do that right now. So change test to check for main role. Let's go look at the test. Actually, let's go. I'll prove to you that it's broken. I know how to break a test, guys. I'm a pro at breaking tests. There, see, I broke it. I told you. So it's like get by text hello world is not there. It's like, yeah, I know. We're done with hello world for now. So if we go into the test, it's right there. So you see here, it's like that. But what we want it to be is to check for roles. So if we go into our browser and I show you, this is the testing tools that I'm using, the testing library. And it was, before it was by text, but as Kent C. Dodds himself recommends in, he has a little blog post he did about like what not to do with React testing library. Posted here, common mistakes with React testing library. And if we search for the word role, using the wrong assertion, I think it was using the wrong assertion. Yeah, to be disabled. There's some like preference for role. I'm not sure where it is in his list here. I mean, as you see here, not using by role most of the time. So that's one I want to fix. Let's use by role most of the time, right? So how to use by role? It's just get by role. Simple enough. So instead of get by text, we're going to use get by role. And we're going to say the role that we want to search for is the main role, because we know that we've specified a main role, right? The main element. So now if we run the test, presumably it'll pass because there is a main element on render. There we go. So now we know the desktop is rendering. So let's actually rename this to renders main role. That's a better name for the test now. And it'll show up there. So now when we see the test renders main role, we know that the main role, the desktop, loaded. And we could call it renders desktop, but I'm not sure. I like that for now, you know. And I think let's also at the same time change another thing that's related to this same Kent C. Dodds thing. I'm going to copy this one up here. He's also the person that made React testing library, by the way, so you want to do his suggestions most of the time. And the other one, which you may have seen when I was scrolling there, involved, if we scroll up here, where was it? It was like the first example, basically. Yeah, here. So another mistake is not using screen. And I hadn't thought of this one either. That's a cool one. So look in this example, get by role render. That's what I'm doing right now, and that's wrong. I should be using screen.getByRole and not even needing getByRole in the render. The render just go render it, and then we'll just talk about the screen. And it says screen was added in DOM testing library, blah, blah, blah. It comes from the same import statement, you get render, so we'll import it like that. The benefit of using screen is you no longer need to keep the render call structure up to date as you add or remove the queries you need. So, I mean, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't even care about I mean, it sounds good, you know? Let's use that instead. So we'll import in screen. Why is it complaining there? Screen is declared, but its value is never used. Fair. So now, like I said, render, we can just do that like that. Just render it. I like the explicitity of this and not having to know about the destruction. And then screen dot get by role. And there's some description there where it's like, okay, it's the screen. So why is it still complaining here? It says it's not that. That seems wrong to me. That's just dead wrong. Let's try to run the test and see if it hates that. So the test passes. So what is it talking about here? Let's close this and open it again. My VS Code's been wonky lately. It's like, that's wrong. What about NPM run build? It's like, I can't make it fail in the CLI, but this thing is like, nah, that doesn't exist. What if I try to do autocomplete? Does it like suggest, is there suggestions? No, it doesn't know what's what. What are you talking about? That's weird, because this is another thing that I did earlier. It's like, that's wrong. React, why is it adding this types here? That's more of the VS Code wonkiness. This is a thing where if I just closed VS Code and opened it again, it would probably fix the ESLint wonkiness, the Stylelint wonkiness, this import wonkiness. But my VS Code is all over the place. It's wonky central. So let's just call that fixed, even though I'm seeing that error there. I don't want to see that. I don't want to hear about it. So let's say refactored test to best practices. Yeah, so now, I mean, and fixed it. Let's just say fixed / refactored, because the test was broken, but it was wrong in the first place. We should just look for the role in the test, I think is more important, and we should use screen. So that's that. So let's, yeah, that's all we need for that one. Let's kick that one off. And oh man, we're at 2 hours already. I mean, my little live timer isn't always as accurate, but I think we are at 2 hours. So that's cool. Change test to check for main role. Yeah, we did that. We did that. Cool. So where are we now here? Let's just save this till the end because that's an easy one. Maybe not that far to the end. We're almost at the end of these refactors anyways. So move metadata into SessionProvider. This goes back to where I wanted to get rid of all the fragment pieces. So where is the meta? Let's just do this and search for it. I don't want to keep hunting for things. Here it is. So within the app, close this, close that, close this. So you see, this is the other fragment. This is React fragment. This is a shorthand for essentially doing fragment as well, which you could do, and then I could import it. I could probably do, can I do React.fragment? No, that's okay. But this is a fragment, and I don't even want to use this when necessary because it's not necessary in this case. Because if you see metadata here, so right now metadata is not doing too much. It's just the title and the description. But there's other things I might want to put in the metadata, like font related things. And I could possibly want those to be controlled by the session. Why would I want it to be controlled by the session? I guess if the user sets the theme, then within the session, you could look to see that the theme has changed and then change the font. No, that doesn't make sense. Actually, I don't want it to be in SessionProvider. I want it to be in the styled app. So like here, yes. I want the styled, I want to be able to look at the theme. From metadata currently, I wouldn't be able to because it's not in the styled app context. And if we look at the styled app, yeah, you see it's using the theme provider. So the children essentially would be referring to the metadata as well. But yeah, I want the metadata to be here so that I can access the theme, so that I can know what font to load, so that I don't load all the fonts and or whatever else I decide to load in the metadata, you know, because the metadata is part of the head. I almost shouldn't call it metadata then, honestly. I should call it like head component or something. I'll rename it when I get that far, but for now, let's just put it in a better position so that it can access all these things, because currently it can't access the session. It couldn't access the styled app, you know, there's a lot of things it couldn't access. And it also allows us to get rid of the fragment because now it's all contained within the SessionProvider. So the code's shorter too. So there we go. So moved metadata into theme context. Yeah. So now it has access to the theme and it's also shorter the code. Cool, simple. Another one bites the dust. So here's another little neat thing I wanted to do. I've made render process last episode, if you guys remember, and I don't perfectly have this figured out how I want to do this yet. So let's just start with the basic refactor. I wanted to cut this piece out so that there's not like double code here, kind of, not double code, but like, it's like there's a function here and there's another arrow function here. It's like nested arrow functions, and that's not necessarily an anti-pattern, but I just want to try to be very specific with as much as possible for now. So let's just say this is rendering the processes. It's like a reducer almost though right now. And we just pass that in like that. And then we say, we have to clarify here the types. That's okay. Let's just clarify this then and say that the ID would be a string and that the process would be a process like that. And I have to import the process now. There we go. Hey, that's a type. Why isn't it? It's being so weird right now because I want this to do that. I've told it so many times I want that, and it's set. Honestly, guys, I'll reset VS Code later and this will totally work, but right now it's not. This is an ESLint rule that it's no longer respecting because my ESLint's acting wonky. So whatever. For now, whatever. But I'll figure that out later. Let's add it to the list here. Is auto type ESLint checking not working, question mark? So all of these are for next stream, and then I'm going to solve them in the upcoming week, and then on our next stream I'll tell you why I was silly, you know. So you see here, this is a lot more clear, I think now. I feel like that's cleaner in that you've kind of separated out the concerns. It's like you get the processes, you get the objects, and then you pass it here. But I wanted to go one step further and like just put this piece in there as well. But then I think I had trouble figuring out the types. So let's keep this one as is because it works as is, and I'll keep it like that in the end if I can't figure this out. But let's just try one step further and do this. And basically just copy how it was before. Yeah, that's okay. It's a little wonky. What do I need to fix here? I want to go back to how it was before. Let's copy this out here. I like that. But let's revert to where I had it a second ago because it makes it a lot easier to cut. There. I don't want to cut this whole thing. So what if we say render processes is a component and it takes the processes, which as we know is the processes list, right? Isn't it? Yeah, it is. Like that. And it gives us this piece. Now, how crazy is that? Let's import this. It's not going to fix my types, even though I want it to. Why is it complaining about that again? Oh, there we go. And now, can I just do this? I think I can do this, but I don't know how TypeScript is going to like this. That's where I was having issues last time. So there's something I like about that too. That looks clean. Oh, let me get that there. Yeah. So I like the look of that in that it's like, it seems very functional component-y. And now this could almost be moved into another file. I probably would because it's its own component. But you see it's complaining here. So what's it complaining about? Cannot be used as a JSX component. Its return type element array is not a valid JSX element. Okay, so that's fair. So let's say we need to clarify what it returns. So what if it's like JSX.element array? No. See, I had a lot of confusion about how to do it. That was where it got frustrating. I don't know if you can say like a component is a bunch of components because this is going to become an array of components. So that it just doesn't quite work. That's what's frustrating. So that'll be for another day. I don't want to mess with that too much, but now you guys see what idea I was hoping to do. So let's go back to what I had a second ago here, which was this guy. He's like the watered down version for me because I couldn't figure out the types for the other one. So there we go. At least we've cut this out here. And now there's something I kind of like about that, but it's not simple enough. So we're going to have to revisit that. Let me add that to the notes, to the pile of notes here. So I'll just do that. I'll know what that means. So question mark, how do you do it? Types question mark. There we go. And let's just leave this like this. So it's a little nicer, I think. It's like you can almost separate the concerns here. Like you look at this, you're like, okay, I know it's getting the entries and then it's sending them here. Forget about this. Now what's this doing, you know? But I don't like that it's like, this is a reducer here. So it's like render processes. But then when you look at this piece, it's like, this is only rendering a process. It's like, where's the looping going on, you know? That's happening from map, but it's not so clear here. Maybe this should be like render processes reducer. Why not just processes reducer? I mean, maybe that at least is a little clearer as to how it is, but it's not what I want in the end. I'd like it to be able to do something a little better and to have this logic be up a level. But I haven't figured out how I want to do that yet. Maybe, I think I could probably do it if I had some like fragment stuff going on here. I probably could. I mean, then I'm getting back to relying on fragments, which I don't want. I'll figure out the types next episode and we'll update that. But for now, I've done this and I've like extracted the processes reducer, let's say. So let's just leave it like that. I made a little bit of, I moved it one level up, but I need to still rearrange it and I'll do that another day with you guys. And feel free to suggest for how you guys would do that. So maybe I'll do it your way. And if I do, I'll give you some kudos, of course. So you see here I wrote possibly blah, 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 didn't do it. Couldn't figure it out. So let's just delete that. Let's leave that thing till last. So let's just do one more. Make wallpaper slightly darker. Yeah, I feel like it's a little bright, honestly. My other one changes colors and we'll get to that in another episode with like multicolor stuff. But for now, let's just change it. And because I don't want to try to figure out this stupid hexadecimal color, I'm just going to use VantaJS's demo thing to set my color. So I just want to go down to a darker blue. That looks nice, yeah. That's easier on the eyes. Yeah. Okay. Let's do that one then. So that's a little bit darker. So we'll go back into our code. We go to the theme, which is in styles default theme, and we just change the color here. And you'll see in the app, there it's darker. Yeah, so I like that. And in the future, we'll have a color effect, and maybe it will eventually get into a nicer color effect than the one I had before, because I feel like my other one was always like a little dark, or it didn't cycle the colors the way I wanted. Like it felt too brown sometimes, you know? But it's like, how do you loop through colors? It's actually, there's a lot of ways to do it. And I have a few cool resources and pages that we can discuss how different people did it, you know? But yeah, okay, so I made Vanta wallpaper darker. I made animated. Well, it's Vanta, whatever. Let's just leave it like that. I don't want to get too nitpicky. I'm going to push these 23 commits I have in case my computer crashes, because that would suck. So hopefully I've fixed everything to the point where the commit actions will, the git actions, I'll show you guys here for people that I haven't, that aren't familiar with this. When I do a commit, it goes to my GitHub actions and actually runs these tests. So as you see, it's doing that there. So it's running right now, and if you go into that, you can kind of see the steps it's doing. And I'll get back to you on this and how it goes, and we'll see if it's in the green. But hopefully it will be. And now we get to the last little piece, and the reason I left this to last is because there's a few things I wanted to mention here. The last little piece of the refactors. We'll see how my energy is after that. So this is a cool little thing, TypeScript cheat sheets for React. It's got 21.9 thousand stars, and I've never read it. Actually, I think I read it like years ago, honestly, but I mean, how old is this? I don't want to seem like a liar, but I read something like this years ago about recommendations for TypeScript and React, but it turns out my knowledge is a bit outdated on this, and I want to give a shout out to Nick B, a coworker of mine. I won't give any more name information than that, but he, in one of our PRs in an unrelated work scenario, I kind of suggested something thinking I knew a nice way to do something in React, and it turns out I did not, and it was actually no longer suggested as the good way. And maybe some other people also didn't know this, but if you guys know React.FC is like a shorthand for the functional component, is essentially discouraged, and it's been discouraged since early 2020. And if you go through this here and you see the discouraged, it points to a PR where people kind of talked about their decision process behind it. They removed it from the Create React app template. And it's basically just not the way to do things anymore. And this is from December. I think it got committed in 2020. Yeah, January 2020. It was the way things are. So essentially, it's not recommended anymore. And the argument, I mean, there's a few arguments. Like I guess it does some stuff to default prompts that's not ideal as far as how it merges them with the ones that you add. And also, it implies that there's children on the functional component, even though there aren't necessarily. So you're essentially not being as explicit as you could be, because it's not necessarily a functional component. The end result is a JSX element, and it doesn't necessarily need to have children as its props. So I think the thinking here is that it's better to be explicit about that. Now, they say discouraged, and that makes me think like, let's get rid of it in my code altogether. But I do have some scenarios where I'm using it in a way where I feel like this fits perfectly with the type, where I'm using the children, I'm not using any additional or default props. I mean, it's returning a JSX element. So in a few cases, I'm going to keep it. But if we go to the code, and just one more note to this, I think, yeah. So in regards, so if I get rid of React.FC, I'm going to have to specify what I'm returning. And if we look at another piece here in this recommended list, they also talk about like JSX element versus React node, and I think I'm using like React element or something, but basically I'm gonna be consistent and I'm always gonna use JSX element, and I'm gonna show you another reason why I think it's probably the right choice. So let's search for React.FC, and we'll see we use it 15 times. Now I think I only want to keep using it like 4 times. So let's see, here's the first example, and yeah, this one I don't use children, so let's not put that there. So if I get rid of this, and again, my ESLint is not working properly right now, but it should be complaining that I haven't specified a return type. So I'm going to do that because I know my ESLint rules better than VS Code seems to right now. But before I do that, I want to hover over this and see. If I hover over hello world, you see it already assumes it's a JSX element. So that is the implied return type. But my ESLint rules specifically require a return type, even though it's not showing up right now because ESLint's broken. So let's just specify the return type. And the reason I showed you that implicit implied one is that just kind of, again, suggests JSX elements probably what I should be using because it's what VS Code and was suggesting right there. So that's essentially what I'm going to do in a lot of places here. Metadata is another one. I'm not using children, so I'm going to get rid of it here, and I'm going to specify the return type as JSX element. Let me copy that and not cut things next time. So here's a case where I am using children. You see, so this fits really well with a React.FC for me. And then I don't need to specify a return type. So until I completely decide to get rid of React.FC, I'm going to keep it in these scenarios where I do have the children props. And I'm also not doing like this or anything. So I'm not passing any props that are going to have some kind of weird combining or anything like that. I'm using it just as pure as I feel like using it. So that one I'm going to keep. This one as well. Children I'm using same scenario. Same scenario here. Here's one where I'm not using it. So get rid of that. Specify. Oh man, I keep cutting it. There we go. I want to copy this and I want to stop cutting out the other thing so I can keep my clipboard. So what was it? This one I wanted to keep. This one I wanted to keep. This one I wanted to keep. And see this one, no. And this is an example here where I actually think it is more clear without the FC. So you see here I've got process here, but it almost seems a little isolated. Like it's over there, but it's talking about this. So what I can do now is I can get rid of this, and that's partly working here. Partly my ESLint works. So now I can say process there, and now I can put that there. So I think that's almost better because here it's like very clear, like, oh, that's the process. Oh, okay, cool. And I don't even need, I'm not using children here. So I don't have to say, oh, it's an FC and I want that implied children type. No, don't worry about it, you know? And I don't want to, yeah, I was gonna, there might be some scenarios in the future where I need children and I need my own custom props. Then we'll see what I decide. But there is no scenario like that right now in my code, so I'm not gonna worry about it at the moment. And I'm gonna go into my notes and also add another question here about ESLint. Is explicit return type working in ESLint? Question mark. I gotta check all these ESLint things that are not quite right now. So let's get back to the list here. So next one is clock. Yeah, clock definitely fits the example of a worthwhile refactor. Same with taskbar. Yeah, that can be more simplified. That can be just this. Oh man, I cut it out again. I just love pressing Control X for some reason. Let's close all these. I got too many windows open, too many tabs. Okay, so what's left? The start button, yeah, same thing. I'm gonna delete it this time, not cut it. Same here, no children, no nothing. So as long as I don't have the children in the props, I'm getting rid of it for now. This is another such example. Oh, what? Oh man, I did cut again. I'm so addicted to doing Control X now. But I need my clipboard intact. Okay, now so here is where it's tricky for the provider for the context factory, right? Okay, no, so I'm using children here. So this is another one where I'll keep React.FC. So yeah, that's it. So now we're just down to essentially 4 usages, and this is just defining the type more. So yeah, there's only 4 times now where we're still using React.FC, and I might change that in the future because as the comment says, it's discouraged, but it's discouraged for a reason where I actually feel like the way I'm using it fits the reasons to not need to discourage it, if that makes sense. But I might be missing something, so I need to read it again and think about it, and maybe someone will comment on why I'm wrong to think the way I'm thinking now, so we'll see. And it'll be fine to have that. So thank you, Nick, for that mention, and I'm gonna mention that I fixed this. So removed or only using React.FC when sensible, let's say. To me, that's sensible, but someone can knock some sense into me, feel free. So, oops, that's in the search. I want this to be my commit message, silly. So let's commit that. And let's run Prettier again because I've changed so much code. I probably should have ran Prettier again. Probably something's changed. No, nothing. Cool. So, wow, I've finally gotten through it, guys. Well, how are we? 2 hours and 20 minutes to just do the maintenance, housekeeping, and refactoring. Pretty much the whole episode ended up being about that. But you could argue some of it was like other stuff. So some of it was like not even refactoring. Some of it was like new stuff almost. So I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm not going to get to most of these, but those could be next stream perhaps. I want to do the color effects next stream for sure. I want to do the entries in the clock. Do I? Yeah, I think so. Let's put these as maybe next stream. I got another section now. There we go. So maybe next stream we'll talk about the taskbar entries in the clock. We'll for sure do the stylings. We'll for sure figure out all these little issues that I've run into. And before we leave, I do want to get a little bit into the VM because I've set it up and I want to show you guys some measurements and maybe tweak some of the settings I have. So without further ado, let's click the VM button. Ta-da! Oh man, I've sat so long something happened here. Oh, okay, don't restart. So there we go. So we're in Windows right now, but this is not the computer you're running on. This is a virtual machine. And I can run the virtual machine fine because I have tons of threads. I got 24 threads in my processor, so it's running this with no problem, and I got 32 gigs of RAM. So this inspect tool is a Windows tool, and I actually have a bookmark to it here. Oh, so this is meta. So I'm opening a browser here in my VM to show you guys this. Oh, I've lost my zoom level here. So this is a Microsoft tool called the Accessibility Tool. Now this is a legacy tool. They have the Accessibility Insights, but I actually prefer the old tool. So I'm going to try to use the old tool. And we're going to check it out right now, and we're going to see, oh, it looks a little tiny on my screen, so it might look tiny for you guys. But essentially it's like an accessibility tool, but it has the names of these things, and it has aspects of the windows that I can use. So like here's the taskbar, and it's got all this information about the taskbar actually, and its component, including right here, the bounding rectangle. So that tells me the information about some of its aspects that I'm interested in, about its height and its width and that kind of thing. And if we dig further in, so here's the start button, and you can see that its bounding rectangle suggests that it ends to the right 36. So that's suggesting that its width is 36. And if we go back into the code here, into the theme, and we look at the start button width, I had it at 30. So if we change it to 36 and save that, so you see the button got a little bigger, and I think that's correct. I think we wanted that to be that. Let's do another. Am I back, guys? Hopefully I'm back soon. It should be back. Hey, I'm back. So sorry, that's gonna probably cut out in the non-live version, but OBS crashed when I tried to switch into my VM. So that's frustrating. It happens. But it was OBS that crashed. My computer seemed perfectly fine with it. So let's try to sneak back into the VM again here, and let's just hope OBS doesn't crash. I'm gonna slip into the VM. Oh, okay, so I'm in it. I haven't crashed yet. So to get back to what I was talking about, guys, I changed the width of the start button. I don't know if it cut off at that point, but this accessibility information told me that. And if I look at the other aspects, so this is the pane, this is the taskbar entries, and I don't care too much about its width. Interestingly enough, though, it says it starts left 34, but the start button is 36. So there's some kind of 2-pixel scenario that I'll have to solve another day. And then this piece here, I think is the clock. I don't know what this is. What is this? Oh, okay, this is the notification area. So here's the clock. Yeah, I'm sorry if you guys can't quite see this, but just trust me here. So there, yeah, there's the clock, and you can kind of see the information as to what the clock is. So it says it starts 1839 pixels to the left, and it ends 1915 to the right. It's kind of a weird way to do it, but if we go to the calculator here, our trusty calculator, and we say, okay, so we say 1915 minus the 1839, so the clock actually should have been 76 width. So I'm going to switch to my code. Hopefully OBS doesn't crash here. Okay, it doesn't know where VS Code is. Let me tell it where VS Code is here. That's VS Code. Okay, so what did I have the clock's width as? I had it at 90, but now we know that it actually should have been 76. So we set that and we press save. And ooh, you see in the rendering, it's kind of wonkied up my clock a bit. Now the reason for that is because the font is actually too big. And a font that I think I'd like to use probably is, let's say 12 for now. So let's say within the clock, let's say, how should I put that? I think I'm going to have another category called font. So I'm going to say const fonts, and then I'm going to say clock size is 12 pixels. There we go. So now we have another one called fonts. Oh, that's wrong there. And we'll put fonts right there. And now we have to set in the theme that we can also specify fonts, which is here. We'll put it in there, fonts. And what did we decide? Clock. And it has the size because it's font size. So I like to say clock size there. And it's a string. And we know we need these. So we'll add those this time. Great. So that's that. And now we just need to use that in the clock right here. And we need to say that its font size is, and I'm going to copy this theme code I have here already. And now I'll just change these pieces. I'll say dot fonts dot clock dot size. There we go. And what's wrong? This alphabetically is not in the right place. That should be above H. There we go. So let's save those three things and see if the clock's font is a little smaller. There we go. So it's not perfectly as legible as it was before, but eventually it will be. Let's try 13 instead of 12, first of all. Does 13 fit? 13 doesn't look correct to me though. Let's do 12 because when we have the right font, this will look a lot better. But we don't have the right font right now, so some of it looks a bit wonky. I was hoping to get more, next episode we're gonna get into the styling, and that's when it'll be dark, like I'm gonna switch to the VM again, hopefully OBS doesn't crash. Here we go. So you see how the bar here in the bottom on Windows 10, how it's like dark, and it's got the start button there, it's got the taskbar entries here, it's got the clock there, which is 76 width. So we're gonna fix the font, we're gonna have the black bar, we're gonna do the blur effect that'll be visible in the wallpaper. All of that we can do next stream as to get into the serious styling. For now, we're just kind of checking dimensions and stuff. So now we clarified the dimensions of the clock, we clarified the dimensions of the start button, and that was by using this inspect tool to actually look at the bounding rectangles. So now we know. Let's look at the taskbar entry and figure out what a taskbar entry item is. So we know that in the accessibility tool, this is the taskbar entries. And then this is a cool thing too, is also we get the accessibility information for what they've named it for people that have like visual, maybe they have trouble reading it or whatever, and they want the computer to read it to them. So it allows us to know how Microsoft's named certain things. So they've named the start button start. They've named the taskbar entries running applications. The clock they call system clock. So those are good things to know. Actually, this is a nice little quick thing we can do. So based on those three things, wait, can we how do you add a tooltip? I think it's title. Let's do this quick, just for fun. Oh no, I don't have the browser set up either. Let me find my browser here too. This is the one, yeah. So if I go to the browser and I go HTML title. Yes, the title tag. No, thank you, W3C. Not that title tag. This one. Yeah. Title global attribute contains text representing information. So yeah, if you hover over, you see how I get that. Oh, you can't see that on my screen, but when I hovered over the HTML piece there, I get a little tooltip. It doesn't look like OBS, my streaming software, is going to show you that tooltip, but just trust me that this is how you set it. So let's set the titles for those things that we now know are exactly the title that Microsoft uses, just for fun. So what were the ones? The clock we know. So let's go to the StyledClock here, which is there. So the clock, we can say when you hover over that, we want that to be, although no, we don't want that to be that. Because when you hover over it, actually, it tells you the time. That's what I prefer. Yeah. Let's not do this for now, honestly, but we'll play with that later. I need to think about what I want the titles to be, because like for the clock, I mean, the accessibility inspect tool is calling it system clock, but it actually does have the time. And if you go to the VM and you hover here, does it give us a tooltip? Yeah, you can see there in the bottom right of the screen, it's like giving the date actually. So I might use that as the real tooltip. Maybe the start button. If you hover over the start, yeah, you see hover over and start on the bottom there shows start. So that's one we could do. But if you hover over here, does it say running applications? No, it has a little preview thing. So start's the only one we can consistently do. Let's do that. So I didn't change clock in the end. Start button. So let's just say start button does have a title that is start. Cool. So now in our code, if we hover over that, yeah, I see start, but again, my streaming software is not showing you it, but cool. We added the tooltip there. So let's make that note here. added start tooltip to start button. Commit that. And let's get back to my, oh yeah, and the font as well. Adjusted clock font size. That was the other piece. Almost let that commit become multiple commits, which would have been messy. And yeah, we did that. OBS hasn't froze again on me. So that's cool. So yeah, let's go back to the VM and just see what other, so I wanted to look at a taskbar entry as well to see its width. So if we go deep in, so you see here in this list, there's 3 things that represents these 3 things. So let's just use this one as the example. And again, we're gonna use the same weirdness where we're gonna use its left and its right. So it's right 200 and it's left 39. So if we do 200 minus 39, we know it's 161. And I think that's consistent. Let's try it with another one here. 361 right by 200 left. Yeah, 161. So the taskbar entries are 161 width. That's the max width. This is another thing I should specify because that's important. So if I go into the style of the taskbar entry itself, we see we've set the width here. So let's go to the theme to set it, first of all. So the taskbar entry width is not 80 pixels, actually, it's 161 pixels. And that's gonna make it pretty big here. Yeah, so you see in our preview, it's made it quite big. Actually, that's correct though, to be honest. If the reason I'm gonna set, let me set max width here. Do I need to specify it here? Maybe I should. Maybe I should say max width. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's clarify max width because the taskbar entries width will resize. If there's another one, let's say right now, just like with Windows, it does resize if you get too many of them. And we'll work with that logic at some point. But for now, let's just specify max width so that it's not just to say width. And we need to update that here. Taskbar entry max width. And then we need to update it where we're using it, which is here. No, it's not there. It's here. There we go, max width. And now we need to say here in the CSS that it's max width, and we need to rearrange it to put it here. There we go. So that should not change. Why did that change things? Did that change? For some reason, I thought it changed something for a second, but no. Okay, cool. So you see there up top, the pink process is now, that's the correct width for a fully sized taskbar entry in Windows. How do we know that? Because we've inspected the object. That's essentially it, actually, as far as things I wanted to specify. Let's fix this. Let's say that then set max width for taskbar entries. So for today, I think that's it for the VM, but we will go in more into the VM later and we'll start inspecting colors and trying to inspect blur effects, and we can get into all the different Windows aspects of how all that stuff goes, because they actually have a ton of documentation even explaining their blur effect, which they call acrylic. And there's a whole system of Gaussian blur and noise effect and everything, and we'll replicate some of that. I don't know if we'll replicate the noise effect because it does not look very good, honestly. I think my version without the noise effect looks better, but we'll consider it. So we're trying to replicate it here, so I could go even more hardcore and replicate all those little layers, and I might. But yeah, looking at my comments here, this is pretty much what I set. I'm not going to mess with padding today because, again, I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm not going to mess with the border today, but there is a border. I'll show you it here. I'm going to switch to the VM again. Be careful, Dustin. So you see at the bottom of these entries here, at the bottom of the screen, how there's that blue line. That's like a highlight border. And that's something we want to add as well. And we'll get into the details because you see here there's like spacing in between the entries too. You see how the blue lines have like a little couple pixels of space. And if you hover over it, how there's other effects there that happen. We're going to emulate all those effects, but it's one step at a time kind of thing. I need to get them right in my head first. So we didn't do the border today. We did the 160 pixel for the taskbar entries. We did the taskbar height. Did we confirm the height? We didn't, but it doesn't really show the height there, unfortunately, so I can't really confirm it well. So let's not worry about that. We confirmed the start button width. Yeah, we confirmed the clock at 76, and we redid the font size, but we never confirmed the font size. Cool, so we essentially got those, actually. And I won't even get into the pixel zoomer thing today. There's an app called Pixel Zoomer that lets you take a screenshot and really zoom in at the pixel level and measure. But because of this inspect tool, we really didn't need it for this because we had those exact bounding rectangle numbers, which are more accurate, honestly. So now we've done that as well. We double checked all dimensions. I would even call that part of the refactoring. Let's just get rid of that additional tasks. So essentially that took up our whole time. We're already at 2.5 hours. I could do another half an hour, but I don't know how to figure out any of these. And I mean, I could get into the styling. These were all question marks. And this is these are all a lot of work, honestly. I'm not really prepared for any of these. And I think we've done a lot of changes. We didn't really add too much. I mean, it looks a little darker now. There's no more hello world. The sizes are a little more correct on certain things for the taskbar. So we've made progress. We've removed a lot of code. I think we've done a lot today. So I can go back to the main view and just kind of say thanks, guys, for checking out another stream. This is like episode 7. So I've already done 7 episodes, varying from 2.5 to 3 hours. So I've got a ton of content, and I'm hoping to just keep doing these for the whole year. I mean, by the end of the year, I'll have done, if I've done 7 now, and I've done them right at the start of the year I started, so 52 weeks minus 7, what is that, like 45? There's like 45 more episodes I could do this year. And by that time, I'm almost certain that this app that we're building will be above and beyond what I have in my old project. So if you guys just stick with me for the whole year, we're gonna have like essentially the promise, the Windows 10 clone, the OS, the shell, whatever we want. We'll have all sorts of apps. People can be building apps. People can be building themes. It's gonna just have everything. You're gonna be able to show it to your friends and like put it in full screen with the F11 on Chrome, and they're gonna think like, oh, what happened? Like they're gonna think they're in Windows 10 still when they're on my website, when they're in this app. So we'll get there. But yeah, thanks. I didn't mention at the start, but if you like my videos, if you like this one, press like, please. I appreciate it. And feel free to subscribe. I'm always, I really like having the subscribers to know that there's people that want to know when I'm making new content, because I'm making new content all the time, at least weekly with these streams. I'm not going to lose these streams, but the midweek videos I've been a little rough with, but like I say, I got some coming up. So if you subscribe, you'll know when those happen. And leave any comments you want. I got a Discord link in my description if you want to talk to me in Discord chat and hang out there. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks for staying with me. Thanks for staying with me on the little skip there when OBS crashed. And I'll see you guys in episode 8. So thanks for tuning in. See you guys later. Bye.